Chapter 157. Wei Chang chuckled and said, "Zizi, lower your voice. Don't disturb Madam's rest." "Madam? Who is Madam?" Yi Zizi asked in confusion. Lai Gu stroked onto Yi Zizi, who was only 1.2 meters tall, and said with a smile, "Boss's wife." "Ah! Big cousin has a wife!" Yi Zizi exclaimed and immediately covered her mouth. Wei Chang smiled, and, with the recent events, Madam is already pregnant. "Ah! Isn't His Honor just a skeleton? How could it impregnate a human? This is too mystical, I'll go take a look." After saying that, Yi Zizi trotted to the side of the tent and quietly walked in. Yi Zizi could see that His Honor was carrying a human woman, and the human woman was so beautiful. Yi Zizi felt that this human woman was the most beautiful human woman that she had ever seen. Yi Hua said faintly, "Be quiet." Yi Zizi nodded her head, then went closer to observe for a bit, then said in a low voice, "Your Honor, can I hug Madam?" "Be gentler." Yi Hua didn't reject Zizi. Zizi is still a child. Yi Zizi slowly crawled in between the two of them, then lightly hugged onto Qinya and buried her head into Qinya's chest. This action of Yi Zizi made Yi Hua a bit unhappy. "If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let her hug onto me. However, the words that I have said are of enormous weight, not even 20 kun would be able to pull me back." Madam's embrace is so warm, so comfortable. Yi Zizi narrowed her beautiful eyes. No wonder His Honor would like this human woman. The cultivation world's king of vinegar couldn't stand it anymore and said, "All right, let go of me. Your Honor, hug me for a while more, just a while more, I beg of you." Qinya could be seen letting out a light moan, then stretching out her hand, she hugged onto Yi Zizi. Qinya had definitely mistaken Yi Zizi for Yi Hua. This infuriated the king of jealousy. Hugging a doll was one thing, but hugging a child. Still not letting go. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. Yi Zizi felt wronged and said, "It's not me, it's Madam who is hugging me and not letting go." Yi Hua could only forcefully pry open Yi Zizi's arms, then push Yi Zizi away from Yi Zizi. Sure enough, Yi Hua ended up hugging onto Qinya. "Your Honor, you are so stingy," Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth and said. Yi Hua glared at Yi Zizi, then said in a low voice, "Remember to wait for me at the county town tomorrow." "Okay, got it." Yi Zizi responded and left the tent. Madam's embrace was so comfortable, soft. Yi Zizi said a few words to Wei Chang and left for the time being. The future is long. Yi Hua still didn't know how wrong his decision this time was. If he were to know what his little cousin would do in the future, he would definitely not be able to hold himself back from kicking her out and letting her fend for herself outside. While hugging onto the woman in his embrace, Yi Hua let out a breath. Yi Zizi doesn't like humans at all, and I didn't expect that she would fall in love with Qinya right away. From this, it could be seen that Qinya is also very unique. Looking at those tender and beautiful red lips, Yi Hua couldn't help but kiss onto them. So **king soft, so **king comfortable. Right now, it was already late at night, and Wei Chang and Lai Gu had also walked into their own tent. Not long after, Lai Gu's tent began to shake crazily. However, Lai Gu was very smart to set up a barrier so as to not disturb His Honor. Wei Chang's side was not as straightforward as Lai Gu. Looking at Lai Gu's tent, Wei Chang felt very envious. "Uncle Wei, it is already so late, quickly come in and rest." Tang Wei opened up a corner of the tent and called out tenderly. Right now, Wei Chang really wanted to ask His Honor for a stick of cigarette to calm himself down. "Uncle Wei!" Tang Wei shouted out with a red face. Wei Chang immediately revealed out a firm gaze. "I will do as His Honor said, I will just directly push her down." Seeing that Uncle Wei was walking over, Tang Wei shyly hid into the tent. Her face was completely red, and she was extremely nervous. After entering the tent, the entire tent could be seen to be decorated with red as the theme. Looking at Tang Wei, who had her head lowered and had a bashful look on her face, Wei Chang swallowed his saliva. What should I do now? Seeing that Uncle Wei was looking at her blankly, Tang Wei lightly bit onto her lower lip, then slowly undid her clothes. Wei Chang was startled. Tang Wei, what are you doing? I am taking off my clothes to sleep. Tang Wei's face was about to bleed. Uncle Wei is so stupid, what else can I do besides taking off my clothes? Wei Chang could be seen stretching out both of his hands. Tang Wei felt that her heart was about to jump out. Uncle Wei finally took the initiative. But, Wei Chang put on Tang Wei's clothes and said with concern, it is cold in the valley at night, it is better to wear clothes to sleep. Tang Wei, first blood, a drop of blood, right now, there was a huge shadow in Tang Wei's heart. Uncle Wei, can you be a bit more honest? Wei Chang let out a breath and immediately lied down. What should I do? How should I push Uncle Wei? Seeing that Uncle Wei lied down, Tang Wei also lied down beside Uncle Wei, and the tent became quiet again. After a long while, Tang Wei turned over and lightly hugged onto Wei Chang. Meanwhile, Wei Chang stretched out his hand and hugged onto Tang Wei's slender waist. This time, Tang Wei felt that there was hope as she said shyly, Uncle Wei, don't you want to? I want to. Wei Chang said gravely. Then why are you still in a daze? Tang Wei felt that she was going to dig a hole in the ground. I have already hinted to Uncle Wei crazily, why isn't there any reaction from Uncle Wei? Wei Chang sighed, I want to sleep, but I really can't sleep. Puff! Double kill, Tang Wei immediately felt a wave of dizziness, I really want to cry. Does anyone have any good ideas? After a while, Tang Wei calmed herself down. I don't believe that Uncle Wei doesn't understand. I have done my homework before coming here. Tang Wei slowly stretched out her slender hand and stroked onto Uncle Wei's chest. Do you still not understand? Wei Chang was very gratified as he laughed tenderly, Xiao Tang, Uncle Wei isn't tired, I don't need you to massage me. Puff! Triple kill. Uncle Wei actually feels that I am giving him a massage, my god. Why is it like this? Seems like I can only use my trump card. Tang Wei could be seen making up her mind. While stroking onto Wei Chang's chest, she let out a very alluring moan. Which man would be able to endure it? Tang Wei doesn't believe it. Wei Chang could be seen being startled as he asked with concern, Xiao Tang, what's wrong? Is it because your respiratory tract is infected? Puff! Quadruple kill. Tang Wei felt as if she was struck by lightning from a clear sky. Being struck by the lightning, Wei Chang said worriedly, this valley is humid, you have to pay attention to your body, do you understand? Tang Wei didn't speak, she was already unable to think normally. In the past, I thought that Uncle Wei's illness was only mild, but from the looks of it, it is not just mild, it is very serious. This is an illness, I have to treat it. Right now, Tang Wei felt that she must definitely cure Uncle Wei's illness, no matter how shameless she is, she must save Uncle Wei. Tang Wei could be seen hugging onto Wei Chang's arm and said tenderly, Uncle Wei, you can be at ease, today is my safe period, nothing will happen to me. Wei Chang stroked onto Tang Wei's hair and said gravely, Uncle Wei knows, with Uncle Wei here, not only today. You will be safe from today onwards. Pentakill. Ace, your woman has already been killed by you. Tang Wei felt that Uncle Wei was incurable, oh my god. Chapter 158. Uncle Wei, I am going to sleep first, you should rest early too. Tang Wei was very hurt, being ignored by Uncle Wei. Uncle Wei went into a daze for a moment, then responded with an oh. Why do I feel that Xiao Tang's mood is a bit low? It shouldn't be. Just now, He expressed his concern for me and also displayed his powerful strength. Why is it like this? Wasn't she supposed to be moved beyond belief? This is how idol dramas come about. With deep doubts, Wei Chang gradually fell asleep. Although there wasn't any substantial progress, at least he had taken the first step and slept together. Just that, thinking that Xiao Tang is going to start school soon, at that time, she might not be able to stay in leisure bar to work anymore. How should I solve this matter? This is really troublesome. Should I eat up the people in school? If Yi Hua knew that Wei Chang was so indecisive, he would definitely teach him a lesson. As a strong person, he should be a bit more overbearing, if not why would women listen to him? Carrying Qinya, Yi Hua took out the pajamas for Qinya to change into. Looking at her body, it was even more alluring than the first time he saw her. Every inch of her skin was emitting out a faint fragrance, and even had a beautiful luster. In any case, no one saw it. Even if someone saw it, kill him to silence him. GGG, the sun revealed itself from behind the peak of Tsang Tsang Mountain. A few rays of warm light shone onto the valley, causing people to feel a kind of sweet tiredness. Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes. Qinya, who was in his embrace, started to cry again. As expected, she is a whining monster. Yi Hua, I am hungry. Qinya, who was in her sleep, mumbled. Her beautiful eyes were reluctant to even open. If you are hungry, then get up and eat breakfast. I don't want to get up, sleeping is very comfortable. Qinya moved her body, putting on a more comfortable position. Yi Hua laughed lightly. We are not at home. Qinya slowly opened her eyes and looked around. The scene from yesterday immediately appeared in front of her eyes. You had a nightmare last night. Looking at Qinya's fearful gaze, Yi Hua said faintly. Qinya's tightly knitted brows gradually relaxed. Dream. And, you went to rest after eating yesterday. So it is like that. You scared me to death. Qinya patted her chest, immediately feeling that something was wrong. When did I wear pajamas? Yi Hua said, I helped you change. You are taking advantage of me again. Qinya said bashfully. Yi Hua pinched onto Bai Ji's tender face. All right, after you change your clothes, come out. After eating breakfast, we will go back. After finished speaking, Yi Hua walked out of the tent. The air here is rather comfortable. Lighting up a stick of cigarette, the four maids had already woken up very early to prepare breakfast, while Wei Chang was sitting at the side of the water in a daze. Lai Gu had yet to wake up. What's wrong? Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, asked. Wei Chang was startled, then hurriedly stood up and shouted out in a low voice, Your Honor. Yi Hua puffed out a mouthful of smoke. It's still early in the morning, and you are already frowning. How could Wei Chang possibly say such a thing out? It was too shameful. Your Honor is worrying too much. Subordinate is just thinking about a problem. Oh. What are you thinking about? Wei Chang really wanted to slap himself. I have so many excuses, yet I didn't use them, and I actually said this. I am going to have to face His Honor's examination again. I hope that I can still remember the places where I drew circles in the past. Think about His Honor's actions last night. Why did His Honor give the 9 demons punishing tower to Wang Debao and not someone else? Wei Chang was quick-witted and began speaking nonsense with a straight face. Yi Hua felt that this was interesting and continued listening to Wei Chang. Wei Chang let out a mouthful of smoke, then said, Wang Debao seems to be from the south, but his wife is from the north. I heard that this Wang Debao listens to everything that his wife says. By giving the ancient godly item to him, His Honor is equivalent to giving it to the north. This time, the South's reputation has been tarnished, and the South will definitely send a crusade against the North. Yi Hua flicked away the ash from his cigarette, then revealed out a praising gaze. That's right, that's exactly what I meant. Let them fight amongst themselves, and after the fight is over, we will come out and tell them the truth. I really want to see what kind of expression those humans would reveal. To be able to toy with humans in the palm of one's hand, it truly feels great. Your honor is wise, giving them a taste of their own medicine. Yihua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder. Not bad, you even know how to speak a few sentences now. When subordinate has nothing to do, subordinate would still read some books about humans. The corner of Yihua's mouth curved upwards. All right, go and call Lai Gu to wake up. After eating, we will go and fetch Yizizi. Yes. At this time, Qingye finished changing her clothes and came out from the tent. She could be seen opening up her arms, closing her eyes and enjoying the pure air. Unexpectedly, a smell of smoke drifted over. Qingye rolled her eyes at Yihua, then went to see what they were going to eat for breakfast. Under Qingye's lead, everyone made a sumptuous breakfast. Sitting at the dining table, Yihua naturally sat at the main seat and said, "After eating, we will leave." Leaving in such a hurry. Qingye seemed to have not had enough fun yet. Yihua took a bite of the bread, then said indifferently, "I am going to fetch a cousin sister, she wants to enter the city to study. When the time comes, you go and make the arrangements." "Oh, is that so? I will make a call and make the arrangements now." "How old is your cousin sister? Middle school or high school?" Qingye took out her phone and asked. "Middle school or high school?" Yihua looked towards Wei Chang and Lai Gu, and the latter lowered his head, expressing that he did not know. She is 8 years old." Yihua himself did not know either, because he had never studied before. Qingye thought for a while, then muttered, "If she is 8 years old, she should be attending primary school, around grade 3. "Yes, that's right," Yihua said. Qingye immediately gave a call to the general manager of Long'an City, Lu Hang, and asked him to go and make arrangements. After all, the school was about to start soon. "Yihua, when the time comes, give me your cousin's information," Qingye said. Speaking of information, Yihua felt that Yizizi should be an unregistered citizen. "When the time comes, I will just let that Xiao Jiu go and settle it." "Okay, I'll give it to you when we get back." After dinner, everyone left the valley. To Lai Gu's women, this day and night were very exciting. Of course, Lai Gu himself was also very satisfied. However, to Wei Chang and Tang Wei, it was simply indescribable. In actuality, the person who was the happiest was still Yihua. After all, he managed to subdue Qingye. Look at the current Qingye. Qingye is currently leaning into Yihua's embrace, and Qingye is currently unable to leave Yihua's embrace. After getting on the highway, Qingye, who was lying in Yihua's embrace, asked curiously, "Yihua, why didn't I hear that you have a cousin sister?" "Oh, long time no see." Qingye punched Yihua's fist. "All right then, you are hiding everything from me." Lifting up Qingye's chin, Yihua immediately kissed onto Qingye's chin, causing Qingye to be dumbfounded. So annoying. There are still people here. Just treat them as if they are transparent. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were very hurt, especially Wei Chang. Why is it that even his honor is able to do it so easily, but I am unable to? I should take this opportunity to properly learn his honor's flirting skills. Chapter 159. In the Cayenne that was following behind, Tang Wei was a bit disappointed as she turned her head and looked outside of the car window. "Tang Wei, did you do it last night?" Bai Xiaozhen, who was sitting at the side, asked in a low voice. "Sigh, if only I did it last night." Tang Wei shook her head, then let out a deep sigh. Thinking about how Uncle Wei acted last night, she felt both angry and funny at the same time. Iran, who was sitting at the front, also became interested. She turned her head and said with a smile, "Xiao Tang, you are already dressed so sexily, could it be that Uncle Wei did not have any reaction?" Gugu seemed to have injected stimulants last night, and Wenxia was even more miserable. Sure enough, Wenxia, who was driving the car, blushed, and Bai Xiaozhen even pouted. "Iran, don't say any more, look at the two of you, TSK, TSK. Iran laughed. Tang Wei let out a deep sigh again. Other people are so blessed, and yet I am worrying about this kind of thing. Forget it, let's just let nature take its course. 2 hours later, Yihua finally got off the highway and arrived at a small town. Yihua chose a remote location to put on an act for the entire time. Have we arrived? Qinya got up from Yihua's embrace and opened the car window to take a look. Yihua nodded his head and arrived at the agreed location, but Yizizi had not arrived yet. She couldn't have gone to prank me again, right? I'm a bit hungry. Qinya rubbed onto her flat stomach and said embarrassedly. She was a pregnant woman, so it was normal for her to be hungry. After all, the big ones have to eat, the small ones have to eat too. Madam, the food in this small town is rather small. Wei Chang took a look and said. Qinya's eyes lit up, isn't there a Shaxian snack there? Let's go there. Yihua had tasted this Shaxian snack before, and it was not bad. Alright, let's treat it as lunch. Yihua approved. The appearance of two Qians in this small town still attracted quite a bit of attention. Curious about what kind of people were sitting inside, the roadside stalls all paid attention to them. When they saw the people that got off the car, all of the male's eyes almost popped out, especially the one that was in the car at the back. He was simply about to spurt out blood. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. As celebrities, the three of them had already secretly changed their appearances before they alighted from the car. This was also done by the Lai Goose sect. It was more convenient for them to go out and play together. After all, it was more exciting outside than at home. Although the beauty in the car behind made people spurt blood, the woman in the car in front helped them stop the bleeding. It was a sacred and inviolable feeling, so beautiful that it felt unreal. But it was such a woman, that willowy waist was actually hugged by a man. God damn it. But for some reason, everyone felt that this group of people seemed to revolve around this man. It was really incomprehensible. Wasn't he just good-looking? This was really an era where looks mattered. Right now, Yihua was also contacting Yizizi. Yizizi expressed her apologies and said that she would be coming over immediately. There was no one in the snack bar in Shaxian County. The boss was sitting at the table. There was a mobile phone, dumpling wrappers, and minced meat on the table. He was watching a drama while making dumplings. Hearing the sound of the door opening, the boss looked up and was shocked. He hurriedly rubbed his hands and asked with a smile, "What would you like to eat?" Qinya looked at the menu on the wall and said faintly, "A set of steamed dumplings." Yihua, what do you want to eat? Stir-fried rice noodle, add an extra egg. Yihua said faintly. Lai Gu pursed his lips, give me a set of mixed noodles. Wei Chang asked Tang Wei concernedly, Xiao Tang, what do you want to eat? Anything will do. Tang Wei's mood was a bit gloomy, but it was also normal. Last night, I had already hinted at Uncle Wei so crazily, but Uncle Wei did not even have any reaction. Thinking up to here, Tang Wei was greatly shocked. Does it mean that people can't get it up after reaching middle age? And Uncle Wei was embarrassed to say it out. I am too stupid, isn't this the same as rubbing salt on Uncle Wei's wound? I shouldn't be doing this, I should think of a way to help Uncle Wei nourish his body and recuperate for a bit. Then, I will go and inquire about the old prescriptions of the people and prescribe some medicine for Uncle Wei to eat. Wei Chang was still looking at the menu, and Tang Wei who was behind him had already given him the title of impotence. Give me a ginseng black chicken soup then. Wei Chang said. Tang Wei had an as expected look on her face. Even Uncle Wei himself knows to nourish his body. My pitiful Uncle Wei has fallen into a chronic illness after reaching middle age. In the future, I have to take good care of him and not let Uncle Wei get injured again. Thinking about last night, Uncle Wei was definitely very gloomy. Last night, Wei Chang was indeed very gloomy. The four of them sat at a table, and very quickly, the steamed dumplings were served. Qinya felt that the steamed dumplings were pretty good. Yihua, does your cousin live here? Qinya asked curiously. That's right, I just want to go out and see the world. Yihua could only say this. Qinya said tenderly, girls should go out and see the world in the first place, only then would they not be cheated by bad men. This is scolding the locust tree while pointing at the mulberry tree. Wei Chang and Lai Gu really wanted to change to another table. The madam is too formidable, to the point that even his honor is speechless. Then, you have to go out and see the world more. Yihua was not someone who was easy to provoke. Qinya snorted and no longer paid attention to Yihua. You only know how to talk back, zzz. The sound of the door attracted everyone's attention. The boss who was currently working looked towards the door, and the spoon that was in his hand even dropped onto the ground. This loli is simply asking for my life. Zizi could be seen wearing a light blue off-shoulder princess dress. Her beautiful collarbone was faintly discernible, the butterfly knot on her waist was cute and moving, and layers upon layers of lace adorned the beautiful dress. She was wearing a big round hat on her head, and her twin ponytails were hanging very naturally behind her head. Different from yesterday, her ponytails were slightly curled up today. Seems like she might have gone to have her hair permed just now. Her pair of small hands were even wearing long gloves, and she was even holding onto a cute little umbrella. She looked just like a little loli that walked out from a two-dimensional world. Looking at Yizizi, who was dressed up like this, Yihua couldn't help but feel a bit of a headache. She is your cousin? Qinya mumbled and asked. Yihua nodded his head. I feel that she has seen more of the world than me. Qinya felt that this little loli was a princess from a European royal family. For her to be dressed up so gorgeously, it seemed as if she was going to attend a very important banquet. Yizizi was indeed thinking like that. In any case, it was her first time meeting the madam, so of course, it had to be a bit more grand. Thus, she forgot about Yihua's words. Big brother, Yizizi waved her hand excitedly, and her pair of eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. If it was possible, Yihua didn't want to respond. Coming. Hello, big sister-in-law, I am Yizizi. Yizizi directly ran in front of Qinya and used that lowly voice to act cute. In actuality, Qinya had never seen such a cute little loli before, but why do I feel that she looks familiar? I seem to have seen her in my dream last night. Of course, Qinya had seen Yizizi who was lying in the coffin before, just that, Yihua said that it was a dream. If I give birth to a daughter, I will definitely dress up like this too. Yizizi, you are so cute. It was rare for Qinya to reveal a smile towards a stranger. Hee, big sister-in-law, can Zizi hug you? Chapter 160. This was the death stare of a supreme being, no, the stare of the Vinegar King. What are you hugging? Yihua shouted out coldly. In this world, I am the only one who is capable of hugging. Sure enough, Yizizi's hand that was stretched out immediately retracted back, then lowered her head, causing Qinya's heart to ache endlessly. What are you doing, yelling at a girl? Qinya glared at Yihua petulantly, then squatted down and lightly hugged onto Yizizi. Ignore him, he is the king of jealousy. Yizizi's face immediately brightened up, and with a smile on her face, she leaned into Qinya's embrace. Sister-in-law, your embrace is so warm. This little girl was too good at talking, just like Ollie. Zizi is also very pretty. Cousin-in-law likes her very much. What do you like? Pay the bill and leave. Yihua was in a bad mood. Standing up, he walked to the door and lit up a cigarette. Seems like I didn't burn enough yesterday. Qinya laughed bitterly, don't care about him. And, Zizi will listen to big sister-in-law whatever big sister-in-law says, Zizi will do it. In the past, Yizizi did not have any backing, but right now, with Qinya as her backing, Yizizi's career would definitely soar. And, so obedient. Qinya stretched out her hand and pinched onto Yizizi's little face. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were immediately startled. However, Yizizi didn't react excessively. She was still smiling, which made the two of them feel relieved. They were afraid that Yizizi would instantly kill the madam. Other than Yihua, Qinya was the second person who dared to pinch Yizizi's face. No. Qinya was the first human who dared to pinch Yizizi's face. Yihua gave a serious warning to Yizizi, while Yizizi expressed that it was sister-in-law who was holding her hand, and that she was being wronged. Only a fool would believe you. Half an hour ago, Qinya was still snuggling up to Yihua, and right now, Yizizi was sitting in the middle of the car. Sit in the car at the back. Yihua said. Yizizi immediately revealed an expression of fear, then immediately hugged onto Qinya. Pouncing onto Qinya was a matter of course. Qinya patted onto Yizizi's shoulder, then said to Yihua, "Why are you being so fierce for? The one who was supposed to receive it is you, and the one who is supposed to be scolding right now is also you." Wei Chang and Lai Gu pretended not to hear anything. Lai Gu, when we reach Longpan City, bring Yizizi to look for a house to stay in. Yihua decided to change his way of thinking. Before even waiting for Lai Gu to reply, Qinya said unwillingly, "You are letting an 8-year-old little girl stay outside by herself. Is there any big cousin like you, 8 years old? Even if it wasn't 8,000, it would at least be 800. Sister-in-law, Zizi is scared," Yizizi said pitifully. "Yihua, you don't have to argue with Yihua anymore. Yutong's room is big enough, just let Zizi and Yutong sleep in the same room." Qinya gave a suggestion that could not be opposed. But was it really okay to let two Chinibyu girls sleep together? Aren't you afraid of causing a commotion? If Qinya knew about Yihua's future development, she would definitely agree to Yihua's request. Going out to live was also a kind of release. After all, a child should live independently as early as possible. Yihua glared at Qinya. "If anything happens, you settle it yourself." "Let's settle it then." Qinya snorted. "Eldest cousin-in-law, you are so good to Zizi." Yizizi smiled sweetly, which melted Qinya's heart. Just that, when Qinya saw that Yizizi's pupils were scarlet red, she became very puzzled. "Zizi, why are your eyes red? Did you wear cosmetic contact lenses?" Yizizi blinked her beautiful eyes. No, Zizi was born like this. Although it was rather weird, this pair of red pupils and Yizizi were still quite effective. 4 p.m. in the afternoon, the group of people arrived at the entrance of Leisure Bar. Qinya brought Yizizi into the bar first, while Yihua had to give a few instructions. "Do not slack in your intelligence work, report to me on time every day. Also, let Xiao Jiu go and handle Yizizi's identity information." Yihua said faintly. "Yes. Yes." Yihua nodded his head, lit up a cigarette and walked into Leisure Bar. Wei Chang unbuckled his seatbelt and said, "You can go back first, I will go and send Xiao Tang off." "Gluttonous monster, what are you talking about? Send her off by car, you are even riding a bicycle to send her off." Right now, Lai Gu was very extravagant. Lai Gu could be seen opening the car door and saying, "This car is for you, don't be too stingy when chasing after a woman, sometimes, you also need to give her some face." Wei Chang went into a daze for a moment, then felt that what Lai Gu said was right, not having a car was indeed inconvenient. "I won't be polite then." Lai Gu immediately revealed out a crafty smile, then, "I will hand over the matter that your honor instructed me just now to you bye-bye." After pausing for a moment, Lai Gu added another sentence, "Grab hold of the opportunity at night. As a brother, I can only help you to this step." Wei Chang knew that Lai Gu definitely did not have good intentions by gifting a car for no reason. However, this kind of small matter can be handed over to Death Mage to take care of. After sending Xiao Tang back, I still have to go to work at night. Not long later, Tang Wei sat on the car and cried out in surprise, Uncle Wei, why did you suddenly want to buy this car? It was definitely Li Gu who said it again. It's convenient for me to pick you up. Wei Chang stretched out his hand and stroked onto Tang Wei's cheek. But this car is too expensive. It's fine, Uncle Wei can afford it. Wei Chang laughed and headed towards Tang Wei's residence. Li Gu went back as well. I haven't even handed over my public allowance for today. In leisure bar. Just when Yihua walked up the stairs, he heard Qin Yutong's cry of surprise and Yi Zizi's cry of surprise. Pushing open Qin Yutong's door and taking a look, even Qin Yu went into a daze at the side. Qin Yutong could be seen wearing a level 3 helmet, a level 3 bulletproof vest, a frying pan was hanging on her butt, and she was also wearing a teacher's uniform. Yi Zizi's gaze was fiery, as if she had found a like-minded comrade. Brother-in-law, big sister, you two only went out for a day, and the child is already so big. Qin Yutong cried out in surprise and carried Yi Zizi up. This little loli is too cute. Yi Zizi felt that this aunt's embrace was not as warm as her sister-in-law's, but it was still rather comfortable. Whoa! Aunt, you are going to suffocate me to death. Yi Zizi couldn't take it anymore, this aunt is too savage. Aunt! Qin Yutong immediately collapsed. Forget about being called aunt by Ollie, right now, even this little loli wants to call me aunt, don't you think that I should be angry? Yutong, she is called Yi Zizi, she is your brother-in-law's cousin. Qin Ye explained. Qin Yutong's eyes lit up, why call me aunt, call me big sister, I am your sister-in-law's little sister. Since she is sister-in-law's little sister, I will give her face. Hello big sister. Mommy, this is too cute, where did you buy this princess dress from? Not bad, I bought a lot of it too, but I didn't dare to wear it, afraid that other people would say that I am a lunatic. It's all right now, we can wear it together. Yihua said faintly, 2 lunatics. Really? Zizi also has a lot of beautiful princess dresses. Zizi, do you know what cosplay is? Yi Zizi shook her head, indicating that she was a newbie. Come, big sister has a lot of beautiful clothes, let me share with you. Chapter 161. Qin Ye had originally thought that Yi Zizi would stick to her very much, but I didn't expect that. Yi Zizi would be snatched away by her younger sister. It's just a few pieces of clothing, do you think that it'll hurt or not? Yihua walked in front of Qin Ye and said faintly, this is just the beginning, in the future, you will have to suffer. After finished speaking, Yihua walked into the bedroom and prepared to take a bath. Qin Ye seemed to be able to see through why Yihua was worried. Look at that smug look on her little sister's face, as if I have a lot of beautiful clothes that you don't. Meanwhile, Zizi's eyes were shining brightly, and her face was filled with envy. Letting out a sigh, Qin Ye walked into the bedroom, and just happened to see that Yihua was currently changing his clothes. Originally, Qin Ye wanted to avoid Yihua for a while, but thinking that they were already an old couple, what was the point of avoiding Yihua? What's wrong? You're not going to seduce them anymore. Go to hell. Qin Ye snorted. Since you asked Yi Zizi to come over and live with me, you will have to be responsible for her in the future. Yihua said faintly, then walked into the bathroom. Qin Ye let out a deep sigh, then sat on the bedside and covered her face. Yi Zizi doesn't seem to be that lowly that she looks like on the surface. At this moment, in the Bai family in the far north, Bai Cixin held the 9 demons punishing tower in her hands and studied it carefully. Meanwhile, the black mist above the 9 demons punishing tower slowly wrapped around Bai Cixin's hands. Wang Debao and Bai Qi stood at the side. Honey, be careful. Wang Debao shouted worriedly. Bai Cixin shook her head and said softly, I'm fine. Don't be nervous. Sure enough, the black fog only circled around for a while before shrinking back into the tower. We have the 9 demons punishing pagoda. Our Bai family can also become an aristocratic family. Bai Cixin slowly put down the 9 demons punishing tower. Her beautiful eyes were filled with the yearning for power. Congratulations on getting your wish, big sister, Bai Qi said with a smile. Wang Debao was the same. Congratulations, my wife. Bai Cixin chuckled. Our Bai family is not the only one who has an ancient godly device, the Shao family also has one. However, there is only one spot. Sis, why don't we destroy the Shao family? Bai Qi suggested. Bai Cixin picked up the teacup, blew on it gently, and took a sip. I want to, but there are rules. Shao Yi is at his weakest right now. This is indeed a good opportunity. Wang Debao said in a deep voice, how about I go there and probe it first? There's no need for that, so as to avoid alerting the enemy. Seizing the ancient godly item and squeezing into the aristocratic families is only the first step, and our next step is not just the aristocratic families, but also the 3 big shots that restrict the aristocratic families. Speaking of the 3 tycoons, Wang Debao and Bai Qi's expressions became grave. In order to become an aristocratic family, the first thing they needed was an ancient godly item. Every 5 years, there would be a selection. Originally, the Shao family had already entered the ranks of aristocratic families, but unfortunately, another ancient godly item had appeared, causing them to have to fight for that slot. For the aristocratic families, the first reaction was that they were mysterious, but for the 3 giants above the aristocratic families, they were even more elusive. After all, no one from the 3 giants had ever appeared before. No one knew what they were capable of, where they were, or how strong they were. However, there was one thing that could be seen clearly, and that was that all of the aristocratic families were restricted by the 3 big shots. If not, they would have fought with each other a long time ago. Who didn't want to collect more ancient godly items? Thus, the 3 big shots declared that all aristocratic families could only possess one ancient godly item, and they were not allowed to participate in the worldly plundering. Those who violated this rule would be exterminated. From this point, it could be seen how big of a risk Tang Wushuang had taken to invite Yi Shao over. Fortunately, Yi Shao left in the end. Bai Cixin put down the teacup in her hand and said faintly, hubby, have you transferred all of your companies over? Once this matter is out of the south, you won't be able to go there anymore. Wife, don't worry, the headquarters in Gao Hai City is just an empty shell. Wang Debao was a little smug. Bai Cixin praised, hubby, not bad, you even know how to prepare for a rainy day. Learning from my wife, I definitely have some experience. Then, hubby, what kind of experience did you conclude this time? Bai Cixin said with a gentle smile. Wang Debao was instantly stupefied. Even Bai Qi couldn't bear to look straight at him. Who asked you to act cool? Wang Debao coughed lightly and said gravely, this time, under the wise leadership of my wife, it wasn't easy for us to obtain a great victory. If it wasn't for my wife's intelligence, how could I, your husband, be able to succeed so easily? Bai Cixin covered her mouth and laughed lightly, to be able to receive such a high evaluation from my husband, I, your wife, am overwhelmed by the favor. It's what I should do, it's what I should do. Wang Debao laughed mischievously. He was looking forward to the reward very much. After withdrawing her smile, Bai Cixin asked seriously, hubby, tell me what happened last night in detail, don't leave out any details. All right. In the next hour, Wang Debao fully displayed his eloquence, turning himself into an undying hero, and obtained the most valuable treasure. Brother-in-law is truly amazing, to be able to deceive those few families. Bai Qi sighed. This brother-in-law of mine looks like a simpleton, but in actuality, he is full of evil tricks. After hearing what Bai Qi said, Bai Cixin didn't say anything, and with a grave expression, she stood up. You said that the black robe appeared at the start, and he even brought along Yunsek's sect head, Sun Fang. And in the end, he ran away for no reason. That's right, I am also puzzled. They suddenly appeared, and I thought that they were also after the ancient godly item, but who knew that they would run away? Wang Debao also didn't understand what was going on. Sun Fang's reputation had already spread far and wide a few days ago, and yet, this black robe brought her out again. Making her furious. Making her hate. Could it be that the black robe wants to make her his own? Bai Cixin muttered. Big sister, you can even think of this. Bai Qi exclaimed. Wang Debao chose to remain silent, otherwise, he would have to ask more questions later on. Bai Cixin continued, even though I've never seen that black robe before, I'm sure that a powerhouse like him wouldn't do something so despicable. Someone must have slandered him, and Black Robe took advantage of this to isolate Sun Fang. This is also why Black Robe suddenly appeared. He wanted everyone to slander Sun Fang, so that Sun Fang could see her situation clearly. After hearing what Bai Cixin said, Wang Debao's expression became grave, and he let out a breath. That Black Robe is too terrifying, his thoughts are actually so meticulous. What happened to the little girl in the coffin in the end? Bai Cixin asked. Wang Debao shook his head. I don't know. At that time, I took the 9 demons punishing tower and ran away. Who would have the time to care about a corpse? Who is that Sung Di who suddenly appeared? Who knows, but he seems to be in contact with the people in the north. Wang Debao said. What about the people that you brought with you? Bai Cixin asked. I can't contact all of them. I heard that He Feng, Xu Zhenhai, and Man Kai didn't come back either. It's as if they disappeared from the world. Bai Cixin took a deep breath. Hubby, Bai Qi, I feel that this matter isn't that simple. We have to be careful right now. The forces in the south will definitely not let what happened last night go. There is going to be a tough battle soon. Bai Qi, you go and make arrangements. All right, big sister. After speaking, Bai Qi took the lead and left. What about me? Wang Debao asked with a smile. Bai Cixin slowly walked over and held onto her husband's hand, then said tenderly, Hubby has worked hard for an entire night outside. Of course I have to reward you. F***K, the main show is coming. The two came to the bedroom, and Bai Cixin took a charming look at Wang Debao. Hubby, this time I bought an enhanced version of popping candy, and it's even spicy. It should taste good if you pair it with iced water. Chapter 162. Zijin City. Within Tang family's manor, Tang Wushuang was currently sitting on the sofa while trembling with fear. Behind him were his 2 wives, Quan Anrong and Mu Jia. A middle-aged man was sitting on the sofa in the middle. His hair was smooth and shiny, thick eyebrows, big eyes, tall nose bridge, and the shape of his face was even more so the golden ratio. Just that, his dressing was a bit casual, with a shirt, flowery shorts, and flip-flops. The man looked at his phone, then picked up the teacup and took a sip, and his brows slightly wrinkled. Upon seeing that, Mu Jia immediately walked forward and personally poured the tea for him. Suddenly, the man shouted out, This damned author is breaking a chapter again. It's fine if he updates slowly. He even breaks chapters every day, and he even shamelessly asks for tips, asks for recommendation votes. Wushuang. Send me a box of razor blades to this author, forget it. Directly find this author for me and ask him to update for me every day. If he doesn't update, I'll beat him to death. Tang Wushuang laughed dryly. All right, master, I'll do it immediately. The man's name was Gue Qingren. 5 years ago, he saved Tang Wushuang, who was on the verge of death, and taught him some skills. After that, Tang Wushuang returned to the city and showed off his capabilities, taking back everything that belonged to him. Gue Qingren put down his phone, then picked up the teacup again and took a sip. It has been a few years since we last met, Wushwang, your harem has increased again. It is all thanks to Master. If not, how would Wushwang be able to achieve what he has today? Tang Wushwang said sincerely. He was actually rather unfamiliar with his master. His master could be said to be an existence that came and went without a trace. Woman, you have indeed achieved something, but your authority did not change at all. Master is a bit disappointed. Gue Qingren put down the teacup and took out a stick of cigarette. Tang Wushwang immediately lit up the cigarette and said, Master, disciple has already reached this stage. Disciple is also powerless. It is too difficult for disciple to climb any further. With your current mentality, it would be good if you don't drop. Gue Qingren took a puff and said disdainfully. Tang Wushwang lowered his noble head and did not have any temper in front of his master. Master can poke me to death with just a finger. The reason why Master came this time is to ask you why you didn't manage to seize the ancient godly item. The reason why Master came this time is to ask you why you didn't seize the ancient godly item. Quan Anrong could be heard saying, Master, you can't blame Wushwang entirely. He called Yi Shao over, but Yi Shao didn't keep his promise, and also, Anrong, don't speak. Tang Wushwang shouted in a low voice. Gue Qingren's gaze turned intent, and he slowly said, Wushwang, not only do you not have the drive to improve, but the women you teach are also lawless. Women shouldn't interrupt when men are talking. Quan Anrong's pretty face instantly collapsed. You two leave first. Tang Wushwang said gravely. Originally, I thought that by bringing the two of them by my side, they would be of some use. After all, their brains were very good, but I didn't expect that it would be like this. Mu Jia pulled Quan Anrong away quickly. Her husband's master was moody and very strange. He could even be so engrossed in reading novels. Master, they are not sensible, please don't be angry. Tang Wushwang fawned. Right now, in this kind of situation, he still needed his master's help. They don't know any better, and you don't know any better either. This woman has messed up your mind. Tang Wushwang hurriedly replied, Yes, 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 what teacher said is correct. Back then, I saved you on a whim and taught you some cultivation techniques. You performed well in the past few years, but this year has disappointed me. When you go out, don't say that you are my disciple. Tang Wushwang lowered his head and listened to his master's lecture. Gue Qingren let out a sigh of relief. The 9-devil punishment tower is in by family's hands. Hearing that master changed the topic, and it was an ancient godly item, Tang Wushwang felt that his hope was ignited again. As long as master is willing to make a move, then everything will go smoothly. That is indeed what the scout reported. After Wang Debao obtained the 9-devil punishment tower, he hurriedly rushed to Zijin City and went to Bai family. Gue Qingren paused for a moment. Right now, Bai family has an ancient godly item, Shao family also has one, but you don't. Could it be that you still want master to help you snatch it? Disciple doesn't dare. The rules of aristocratic families cannot be changed. If you want to squeeze in, you have to snatch it. Which family do you think is easy to snatch? Gue Qingren asked faintly. Is there a need to ask? It is definitely Shao family Xinyuan sword. Shao family. Tang Wushwang said gravely. Since you know it is Shao family, why didn't you make a move? Gue Qingren asked back. Tang Wushwang still remembered their old relationship. After all, Shao Yi had helped him quite a bit back then. Now, it is really hard to stab him in the back. When one is in a great position, one will slay a god, not to mention an individual. Disciple has learned his lesson. The living room instantly quietened down, and Tang Wushwang didn't even dare to breathe loudly. I heard that everyone died last night, and all of them were sucked dry. Gue Qingren suddenly asked. And the news just spread out, and the 3 major powers in the north also went missing. Gue Qingren said calmly, seems like it was done by the person in the coffin. Master, you know about it. If I didn't guess wrongly, all of you fell into a trap. Gue Qingren laughed lightly, picked up the Snickers bar on the table, opened the packaging, and slowly chewed on it. Tang Wushuang turned pale with fright, and he instantly understood something. Master, compared to this person, we are about the same. Tang Wushuang's heart sunk. Master actually has such a high evaluation of this person, unimaginable. That's right, what is going on with that black robe? Gue Qingren continued to ask. Tang Wushuang told him the cause of the matter, and Gue Qingren fell into contemplation after listening to it. After a long time, Gue Qingren said faintly, "This black robe isn't a big deal, the important point is the person behind him. But right now, everyone in the circle is saying that the black robe is the boss." Gue Qingren's gaze turned cold. "I should have really killed all of those women of yours. Did your brain get clamped by women until you became stupid? You can't even see through this kind of scheme. But, Wushuang, let Master ask you a question. When have you seen Master make a move before?" Tang Wushuang swallowed his saliva. "Indeed, I have never seen Master make a move before. Never. A truly powerful person would not even spare a glance for ants. In his eyes, ants are merely dust." Gue Qingren said in a deep voice, as if he had met his match. "Master is powerful like this." Tang Wushuang immediately bootlicked. "As expected, it is useful." Gue Qingren leaned on the sofa, and with a deep gaze, he said faintly, "Master has a feeling that the dispute between the North and the South was planned by this bar. Wushuang, investigate this bar properly." "Disciple understands, Master, then who exactly is the boss of this bar?" Gue Qingren let out a heavy sigh. "If it isn't that boss, then it is that security guard. One of them is the mastermind behind the scenes." "All right, Master is going to rest now. Master, do you want Disciple to make arrangements for you? It is better for you to keep those useless women for yourself. Don't forget to help Master tie up that author. If he doesn't write, I will break his legs." Chapter 163. In another place in Zijin City, it had lost its former glory and seemed very gloomy. At night, the entire mansion would be pitch black like a haunted house. This was the once glorious Xiao mansion. At this moment, Xiao Yi was sitting cross-legged in his secret room and cultivating. However, could his heart calm down? From his furrowed brows, it could be seen that he could not calm down. His beloved wife had died, but he did not even dare to hold a funeral. Her body was still sealed in ice. His son only knew that his mother had gone on a business trip. It had only been a few days and he was already clamoring for his mother to come back. However, could she come back? She could not. Opening his eyes, Xiao Yi's eyes were bloodshot. The battle with the black-robed man had caused his blood to flow in reverse and left behind a root that could not be removed. His beloved wife's death had damaged his heart and veins. With these kinds of injuries, there was no way he could recover and he would not be able to hold on for long. However, he was dead. What about them? What about the children? His former enemies would turn their spears to them. Thinking about this, blood flowed out from the corner of Xiao Yi's mouth. He was beyond cure. Dragging his heavy body, Xiao Yi opened the door to the secret room. However, the moment he walked out, his slightly bent back straightened. He swallowed his bitterness to prevent the women from worrying. Enduring the chaotic spirit energy in his body, Xiao Yi came to the main hall. Who would have thought that all the women would be gathered together as if they were having a meeting? "Big brother Xiao, you came out of seclusion." Yu Qi quickly went up to support him. Her stomach was already slightly bulging. Looking at Yu Qi's stomach, Xiao Yi squeezed out a smile. "Are you all right?" "And, big brother Xiao, don't worry about us. We are fine." Yu Qi supported Xiao Yi as they sat on the main seat. Shu Nan's face was calm as she walked to her husband's side and wanted to take his pulse. Xiao Yi knew what Shu Nan wanted to do, so he dodged. Not only was his seclusion useless, but his injuries had worsened. He did not want them to know about this. Even if they wanted to know, this was not the time. Shu Nan frowned and was very worried. The more her husband acted like this, the more serious his injuries were. What are you guys talking about? Xiao Yi tried to maintain a relaxed state. He had been in seclusion these past few days and did not know about the outside world. Yu Qi smiled and said, "Nothing, it's just company matters." "Do you need to do this to the company's matters?" "Just say it, no matter how big the matter is, it is already in the past." Xiao Yi laughed bitterly. "If I can go back in time, I should learn from Wang Debao and return the money." He had thoroughly played out the phrase, losing one's wife and losing one's soldiers after losing one's wife. The girls looked at each other. Finally, Shu Nan told them what had happened these days. "Wu Shuang is here to give money." Xiao Yi felt gratified. At least he hadn't made friends with this brother for nothing. Yu Qi didn't understand it that way. "Brother Xiao, when Wu Shuang came that day, you were already in seclusion," and he looked a little absent-minded. "I don't think it was as simple as giving him money. Maybe he's worried about my injuries. Wu Shuang isn't as bad as the other families." Xiao Yi's voice wasn't strong and was very weak. The women did not continue to speak, lest they made their husbands angry. They had to take it slow, because the next matter would be even more serious. After a long time, Xiao Yi listened to everything and didn't have much of a reaction. Instead, he let out a sigh of relief. The heavens wanted my Xiao family to die. The women didn't say anything. They didn't want to continue to provoke their men. Yu Qi said seriously, "Brother Xiao, the Bai family might do something bad to us. We should plan ahead." "Bai family? I'm afraid it's not just the Bai family. The Xian Yuan sword in my hand is a hot potato that everyone wants." Xiao Yi said coldly. "If a tiger fell to the plains, it would be bullied by dogs. Brother Xiao, how about we hand over the sword and let them do whatever they want?" Shu Nan's suggestion was probably what all the women were thinking. If the sword was gone, it was fine as long as the person was still alive. However, Xiao Yi didn't think so. If the sword was gone, it would only speed up the process of death. They didn't dare to do anything now because they didn't know how injured they were. Once they found out, they would probably attack. The only thing they could do now was to use the Xian Yuan sword to exchange for their lives. "Don't worry, I have plans." Xiao Yi smiled. If the sword couldn't exchange for their safety, then he would exchange for his life. The women had blind trust in their husbands. They thought that Xiao Yi really had a good idea, so they were happy. "Brother Xiao, let's eat first. Only when we are full will we have the strength to do things," Yu Qi said tenderly. Together with Shu Nan, she helped Xiao Yi to stand up. And Shu Nan took this opportunity to immediately check her husband's pulse. Her face that was originally still red immediately became pale like a piece of white paper. This kind of pulse is the sign of death. That's why the words I said just now were all lies. Brother Xiao is going to die. Xiao Yi took a look at Shu Nan. His meaning was very clear, he was telling her not to speak carelessly. The happy atmosphere on the dining table was no longer like it was in the past. Meanwhile, everyone in the bar started eating. Crayfish feast, Qingya was immediately stupefied. This is revenge for me for not serving him well during those few days. Not only is he a jealous king, he is also a miser. Wow, crayfish, Zizi loves it the most. Yi Zizi immediately wore her gloves. Yihua coughed lightly and hinted to Qingya. Qingya bit onto her lips and helplessly wore her gloves to peel the crayfish. After dipping the crayfish meat into the gravy, she placed it into her husband's bowl. Yi Hua was very satisfied. This crayfish meat is becoming more and more fragrant. Qin Yutong looked at the two of them. Just going out for a trip and they have already reconciled, this is really fast. Looking at big sister's expression, needless to say, brother-in-law definitely won. Brother-in-law, eat the crayfish. How could Qin Yutong let go of this time to flatter Yi Hua? If I want to have meat to eat, I have to flatter brother-in-law. Big brother, here, Zizi will peel the crayfish for you. Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong's mentality was not much different from each other. As for Yi Hua, he couldn't care so much about it. This is the treatment that a supreme overlord should enjoy, comfortable. Yi Zizi, go to school half a month later and study. Yi Hua said faintly while eating the crayfish meat and drinking the iced Sprite. You are letting an old monster go to school, aren't you afraid that she will eat all of the teachers in the school? As expected, upon hearing about going to school, Yi Zizi collapsed. Big brother, I don't want to go to school, I want to eat chicken. Yi Hua and Qin Ye's gaze immediately looked towards Qin Yutong, while Qin Yutong pretended not to hear anything and continued peeling the crayfish. Big sister, eat the crayfish. Brother-in-law, eat the crayfish. Qin Yutong. How can you lead a child astray? Qin Ye criticized harshly. It has only been a few hours, and you have already made an innocent and pure lowly degenerate to the point where she wants to eat chicken without even going to school. Qin Yutong raised up both of her hands and said with grievance, brother-in-law, big sister, you really can't blame me for this. After finished speaking, Qin Yutong even pulled onto Yi Zizi's skirt. Big brother, big sister-in-law, you really can't blame big sister Qin. Big sister only told me how to operate the game, and also how to control the gun and snatch the airdrop. It was Zizi who got addicted to it. Yi Zizi said pitifully. Pooh. Chapter 164. Qin Ye glared angrily at her little sister and shouted out, Qin Yutong, it's fine if you degenerate yourself, but Zizi is still a child, and you are already bringing her to play games at such a young age. Are you going to bring her to the disco too? Yi Zizi's eyes lit up at the mention of disco dancing. This was something new. However, she remained silent and pretended not to hear anything. Qin Yutong fell wrong to death. This little troublemaker, tricking me. And you are still pretending to be more pitiful than me. Sister, don't be angry. Eat some prawns to calm down. I have no appetite. Qin Ye said angrily. Thinking about how after my child was born, I was led astray by this aunt of mine, I felt that my head was a bit giddy. Yi Hua, why don't you reprimand her? Qin Ye was not happy with herself scolding Qin Ye, and she even wanted to pull Yi Hua along to scold Qin Ye's little sister. Yi Hua knew Yi Zizi very well, and he said, I've already said it before, you will be responsible for yourself. Qin Yutong became happy. I didn't expect that brother-in-law would stand on my side this time. I am so happy. Yi Zizi, there's no room for discussion about the study. Yi Hua said faintly. The main thing was that he wanted to throw Yi Zizi into the school and properly get along with humans. Yi Hua wanted Yi Zizi to not always think about sucking on humans, and Yi Hua wanted Yi Zizi to know how to control herself. Just look at Wei Chang, he is able to control himself so well that he is even able to think. Seeing that his honor's attitude was so unyielding, Yi Zizi could only seek help from Qin Ye. Sister-in-law, Zizi, are you listening to sister-in-law? Qin Ye asked with a smile on her face. Yi Zizi nodded vigorously. She felt that there was hope. Then listen to your eldest cousin. Yi Zizi was speechless. Even if he pretended to be pitiful, he wouldn't be able to escape his fate of going to school. The thought of sitting with a group of human children made him want to eat them all up. Zizi, studying is pretty good. If you don't study, you won't even be able to find a job in the future. Qin Yutong patted onto Yi Zizi's head and began to add insult to injury. Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth, then began to peel the prawn pitifully. At that time, I will make a big fuss. Yi Zizi, don't think about useless things. Yi Hua still didn't know what Yi Zizi was thinking about and gave a warning. The family meeting ended here, and Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi breathed out a sigh of relief. They felt like when they were young, they had failed their exams, and were being lectured by their parents. Qinya, didn't you say that you are going to take wedding photos? Hurry up and decide, in case you say that it doesn't look good when you pat me when I have a big stomach. Picking up the prawn meat that Qinya peeled, Yi Hua asked. Qinya pondered for a bit, then said, let's go to Sanya, the scenery there is pretty good. Furthermore, this time, we have only played for a day, so we will be able to play more if we go to Sanya. Why are we going so far away? Yi Hua asked while wrinkling his brows. There is a seascape over there. Longtan City is located inland, and there is only a river there. This time, we can also bring Yutong and Zizi along with us. Qinya felt that this method was feasible. Qing Yutong didn't want to go out and was planning to be a female otaku. Big sister, I am someone who wants to become a female streamer to earn money. Zizi also wants to eat chicken. No, you two have to go. One is the bridesmaid, and the other is the bridesmaid. It's decided. We'll set off tomorrow. The three of them exclaimed at the same time, tomorrow. That's right, I will treat you all to a vacation, and I will pay for all of the expenses. Qinya was very forthright. Since Yi Hua agreed to it yesterday, he followed Qinya's wishes. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi let out a heavy sigh. How good is it to stay at home? There is air conditioning, takeaway, and games, why do we have to go out and suffer? After eating crayfish, Qinya joined the chicken dinner party. Yi Hua really didn't want to say anything. How did you teach them a lesson in the first place, and now, you are in cahoots with them, where is your moral integrity? Because little Ali was online again. Yi Hua, who was bored, walked downstairs to see if the business had improved or not. However, when he went downstairs to take a look, other than his own attendants and security guards, there was no one else. How is this possible? Yi Hua waved his hand towards Wei Chang. Boss, what's the matter? Where is everyone? Yi Hua asked gravely. Wei Chang shook his head, I don't know either. A few months ago, this place was filled with people, and as long as I walked downstairs, all kinds of screams would be heard. But now, sighing, Yi Hua said, I am going out for a few days tomorrow. When I come back, I want to see this place filled with people. If not, I will deduct your salary. Boss, I still want to ask you for a raise in salary. Wei Chang said embarrassedly. So it turns out that finding a girlfriend costs so much, and now, I even have to pay more for gas. Yi Hua glared at Wei Chang, you still want to ask for a raise in salary, I am going to starve to death. Boss, there is a strong smell of stir-fried crayfish coming from your body. You still dare to talk back to me now? Subordinate doesn't dare. Wei Chang said hurriedly. Didn't I see that Zizi has returned? I am happy in my heart, so I am just being mischievous for a bit. How is the matter that I asked you to investigate? Yi Hua took out a cigarette and sat on the booth seat at the side. Wei Chang was slightly startled, I seem to have forgotten about it. I am still investigating. If there is really no other way, you can go and add fuel to the fire. The goal is to make them fight, the more miserable the better. Yes. After finished speaking, Yi Hua stood up and walked towards the outside. Boss, where are you going? Going outside to get some fresh air. Wei Chang replied. His honor even learned how to take a walk after a meal, seems like it won't be long before he goes to square dance. Thinking about it was just thinking about it, right now, he still had to quickly contact Death Mage. Yichin took out his phone and gave Death Mage a call. After thinking for a bit, he hung up the phone. Death Mage. Death Mage, who was currently playing the game, went into a daze and hurriedly replied, Master. His Honor has ordered you to become a spy and investigate the movements of both the North and South. Wei Chang felt that this was exactly what His Honor meant. After all, only a spy would be able to gather a large amount of information, and this was how all spy dramas played out. Spy. Death Mage felt that he shouldn't be called Death Mage anymore, because the quest was no longer related to death. That's right, report to me every day. Your subordinate will obey your orders. After cutting off the connection, Death Mage let out a deep sigh. The missions that His Honor gave me are getting more and more difficult. How am I going to play games in the future? Bu. The sound of a max-leveled cannon rang out beside him. Sun Fong was also fishing with her phone in her hand. That serious look on her face made it seem like she was taking revenge. That's right, she was taking revenge. Since she couldn't beat him, she would use what he was best at to defeat him. But, this fishing is too much of a scam. I don't even have money anymore, and even eating 3 meals a day is a problem for me. I might as well just return the house and get back the deposit. It is impossible for me to stay on the overpass, but going to the park is a pretty good choice. In any case, if I don't kill him in this lifetime, I swear that I am not a human. Death Mage immediately typed, then used his bone finger and tapped onto Sun Fong's shoulder. I have a way to earn money, do you want to do it? After looking at Death Mage's finger, Sun Fong's brows tightly wrinkled. Death Mage is definitely not doing anything good, but even if I don't have money, I can't defeat him. After thinking for a long time, I'll do it. GGG. Chapter 165. Death Mage already had a plan on how to complete His Honor's order. This is going to be a very different kind of spy job, and it is filled with blood and cruelty. I really like it. On the other side, Yihua took a stroll outside, and when he came back, there was an additional document bag in his hands. This document bag was sent over by Lai Gu, and inside the document bag was Yi Zizi's personal information. Right now, I don't even need to go and look for little Joe. Lai Gu already has resources in his hands. Not bad, not bad, you are starting to have brains. Returning to the second floor, Yi Zizi could be heard shouting into the microphone, while Qingye and Qing Yutong were both silent. Auntie, you're such a noob. Little Ali's childish voice sounded from the headset. Yi Zizi was furious. Don't call me auntie. But you are Auntie Qing's little sister. If I don't call you auntie, what should I call you? Yi Zizi received 10,000 damage. Have you ever seen such a lowly auntie? Qingye and Qing Yutong smiled tenderly, but didn't say anything. When these two buffoons are placed together, they are simply capable of tearing apart the sky. Enduring the pain of being called auntie, Yi Zizi decided to defeat Ali with an overwhelming advantage in the game. Little Ali also seemed to know that compared to Yi Zizi, it was useless. Apart from these 4 people, the other 96 were suffering. Among them, more than 70 heads were split evenly between 2 people. There were also more than 20 who couldn't take it anymore and self-destructed. In the end, as soon as these 2 accounts appeared, all sorts of explosions would appear on the screen. This game couldn't be played anymore. When faced with 2 immortals, you could only kneel. I didn't expect that Yi Zizi would be so powerful. In the beginning, she was still very unfamiliar with the game, and after a few rounds, it was as if Yi Zizi was cheating. In a certain live stream room, there were countless bullet screens. Host, aren't you the Immortal Slayer King? Now that there are 2 celestial beings, streamer Celestial Bane, please. Also begging streamer Celestial Bane. Host, please give the world a clean PUBG. On the screen, the host clutched his stomach with a pained expression. I'm really not in the best condition today. I have a stomachache. I'll go offline first. After saying that, the stream went dark. Celestial Bane. Cook me when the time comes. That was a revolver monster, and now there was a crossbow monster. Should I consider switching professions? The live stream was in chaos. The host actually ran away. Everyone, stop scolding the host. Maybe the host is really not feeling well. I'd be a fool to believe him. Two deities destroyed the balance of the game, and this streamer actually pretended to have a stomachache. Why don't you just say that you're on your period? I heard that my goddess, Yu Tong, is going to start a live stream and play PUBG. I'm going to watch my goddess. What's there to watch? Even Jade Dynasty can't do it without some skill. Let's go, let's go. I might as well watch the old woman play games. Unsubscribe, unsubscribe. Sorry for disturbing you. Looking at the bullet screen in the live stream room, the streamer felt very hurt. You all are asking too much. Do you think that Jade Dynasty is that easy? I'm done for. I'm done for. However, right now, little Ali and Yeezy were killing each other in the game. Whoever didn't get a headshot would lose. In the end, it was all headshots. How the F***ck was he going to let people play? So what if he had a cheat? This was too much of a bully. The game company immediately checked and found that these two accounts were perfectly normal. Could it be that the latest cheat had appeared and all the technicians were called to work overtime? In the first place, there was no cheat, so how was it possible for them to check? In the end, those technicians didn't return home for an entire month, and they didn't even know that they were cuckolded. Yihua stood behind Yeezy and watched as she cheated with her instincts. However, he didn't expect that Ali would actually be able to fight to a draw with Yeezy. This little Ali is rather mysterious. Northwest Desert, this place was completely uninhabited. If an ordinary person were to walk on this desert, they would die within a few days and become the food of vultures. Under the moonlight, two people walked onto this desert. They wore cloaks and walked forward while bending their bodies. After a long time, the two people stopped their footsteps. One of them formed a seal with both hands, and a faint water ripple appeared in front of his body. Soon after, the two people stepped into the water ripple, and the desert returned to peace once again. The two people that stepped into the desert took off their cloaks and took a deep breath. One of them smiled and said, "The air in our voidless realm is still the best, the air in the secular world is poisonous." Of course, this voidless realm is under the protection of the ancient Eastern Emperor. To be able to become a member of voidless realm is also a supreme honor. That's right, if we are able to see the Empress once, we would have no regrets in this life. Soon after, the two people looked towards the tallest existence within the mountains, and their gazes were filled with endless worship and reverence. Soon after, the two people slowly kneeled down and bowed towards that person to show their respect. Looking at the entire voidless realm, it seemed as if the entire voidless realm was sitting above the layer of clouds, and the mountains were even floating above the layer of clouds. All of the buildings were located at the edge of the mountains, and on top of every mountain, there was a majestic palace, which symbolized the authority of the voidless realm. However, on the highest mountain peak, there was a majestic palace. The entire palace was engraved with majestic divine dragons, and each of the 8 dragons coiled around a white jade stone pillar. The 8 dragons had glaring eyes and sharp claws, scales and beards on their bodies, and the dragons had the power to uproot the mountains and rivers. In the sky above the palace, there was actually a waterfall, and the sound of the waterfall was high and low, just like the melody of a zither. Green trees intertwined with each other, and the chirping of cicadas and drums could be heard. It was as if one was at this place, quietly listening to the clear melody of a flowing spring and the green breeze of an ancient pagoda tree. The waterfall flowed along the channel that was dug out and flowed down the mountain, and just happened to fall onto the mountain below. The waterfall flowed into the layer of clouds, disappearing without a trace. At this moment, there were people gathering in the palaces of the various mountains. 8 elders landed in front of this majestic palace, then bowed their bodies and waited. In front of the palace stood 4 golden-robed and silver-armored imperial guards, and their entire bodies were emitting out faint killing intent. After a long time, one of the guards shouted out, "Enter." The 8 elders slightly straightened their bodies and walked into the palace. On the throne at the center of the palace, a woman with extraordinary aura could be seen sitting on it. On her head was a dragon phoenix golden crown, and her appearance was picturesque. Although her pair of eyes were beautiful, there was a layer of frost on them. The dragon-patterned purple robe that was worn on her body made the cold aura that she was emitting rise to a peak. This was a woman that even men would not be able to raise their heads. Her name was Donghuang Baiji. Subordinates kowtow to your majesty. The 8 elders bowed and greeted. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting on the throne, had a calm expression on her face, and not a single ripple could be seen on her face. Donghuang Baiji slowly raised her hand. The 8 elders stood up and stood on both sides of the palace. "Yuanda, what is the matter that requires us to discuss in the middle of the night?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. A relatively short and small elder stood out, then cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, a demon has appeared in the secular world. That 9 demons punishing tower cannot be considered to be a demon." Donghuang Baiji said faintly, seemingly not placing the matter in her eyes at all. Chapter 166. Seeing that the Empress didn't say anything, Yuanda continued to speak. The disciples who just returned from the secular world reported that over 10,000 people had died in the fight for the ancient godly item this time, and there were still 1,000 people who went missing. Those several 10,000 people had all been sucked into dried corpses, and this must have been done by the coffin person. Donghuang Baiji took a faint glance at Yuanda, then said slowly, "So what?" Yuanda was shocked and quickly lowered his head. "Not to mention that aristocratic families will be able to deal with this matter. This matter happened in the south, and it is not under our jurisdiction. If you have anything to say, just say it directly, don't beat around the bush." Donghuang Baiji said coldly. "She is already so old and cunning, could it be that she still doesn't know how to deal with this matter? It was necessary to make such a big fuss." The 8 subordinates lowered their heads and looked at each other, as if they had already discussed this beforehand. All of them knelt on the ground and said in unison, "We hope that your Majesty will think for the sake of the Donghuang bloodline and give birth to a boy as soon as possible to inherit the Donghuang's inheritance." Donghuang Baiji did not get angry. Instead, she laughed. "I presume that the 2 of you have already found a husband for this Empress." Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. However, her eyes were emitting out fierce hostility. Among the 8 people, a slightly plump old man walked out. His name was Xing Han, and the beard on his chin was about to fall to the ground. He could even be used as a broom. "Your Majesty, the inheritance of the bloodline is the law of the heavens, not to mention the bloodline of the Eastern Emperor. The bloodline of Nuwa is nowhere to be found, and the ancient bloodline is even rarer. Although the other 2 families are not worthy of the surname Eastern Emperor, as long as your Majesty gives birth to a male child and inherits the inheritance of the Eastern Emperor clan will once again achieve glory." As he spoke, Xing Han knelt down again. When the others saw Xing Han kneeling down, they also knelt down. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting on the throne, did not say anything. Xing Han continued, "The aristocratic families in the north are controlled by us, Donghuang, while the aristocratic families in the south are controlled by the Ji family. Although the Ying family lives in the south, they don't care about worldly affairs. I feel that the Ying family is the best choice." After a short pause, Xing Han continued, "The second son of the Ying family, Ying Kongsher, is talented and virtuous. He's also quite handsome. He's the best candidate for the Empress's husband." "Are you done?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. "Empress." All of you can leave. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand and stood up. Yuanda immediately rushed out. This subordinate has something to report. It's about Long and City's Qing bar. Donghuang Baiji's body trembled, and in an instant, all sorts of emotions appeared on her face. The 8 subordinates of Donghuang Baiji had their heads lowered in hesitation, and they did not notice the complicated changes that were happening to Donghuang Baiji. A small leisure bar is of no importance to me. Donghuang Baiji placed her hands behind her back and prepared to leave. Yuanda hurriedly shouted out, "Your Majesty, the conflict between the North and the South this time was caused by this leisure bar's owner. His name is Yihua. So he is called Yihua. This cruel man was called Yihua." Because his back was turned, the 8 subordinates couldn't see his angry and ferocious face. However, everyone else was looking at Yuanda. Why did he bring such a small matter up? Yuanda ignored him and continued, "This man has a wife. Her name is Qinya, and she is pregnant." Every single word that Yuanda said was like a sharp blade, stabbing into the weakest part of Donghuang Baiji's heart. He had a wife. With child. Then what does that make me? Donghuang Baiji's memories instantly returned to 3 years ago. The situation on that day was more or less the same as today, just that, back then, her father was sitting on the throne, and on the second day, she ran away from the throne, and on the second day, she met with the owner of the leisure bar. She, who was in an extremely bad mood, was convinced by the owner of the leisure bar and ended up having sex with the owner of the bar. But when he heard that it was his first time, he felt a little better. He even said that he wouldn't touch the same woman twice and told him not to look for him. At that time, he laughed. Did he really think he was a god? He was the most narcissistic person he had ever met. After playing around in the secular world for half a month, Yihua returned to Voidless Realm. Yihua didn't expect that her father would fall sick, and at that time, she was rather worried. However, the sage doctor who was taking a look at her father's illness was actually able to tell that she was pregnant. How is this possible? However, after the diagnosis, she was dumbfounded. She was really pregnant. She didn't even need to think to know whose child it was. At that time, her father flew into a rage, and his illness worsened. Everyone advised her to abort the child. This was a disgrace to the Donghuang bloodline. However, he could not bear to do so. This was a life. After resisting for a month, she couldn't take it anymore, and running away was the only choice she had. But where could she run to? At that time, there was only one place that appeared in her mind, and that was Leisure Bar. When she was at that time, she was still thinking about some beautiful things. Although it was an accident, she was able to get to know the other half of her life. However, she never expected that she would wait day after day. Every night, she would see Leisure Bar closing its doors. She would even raise her head to look at the room on the second floor where the lights were still on. Why is it that when you are just a few meters away from me, you aren't willing to come down and take a look at me? Disappointment after disappointment caused her heart to become disheartened. After half a month, when she returned, her father had already left. That day was the darkest day of her life. It was as if she felt that the entire world was abandoning her, and she even thought of committing suicide to end her life. However, when she thought about her child, she endured it. Her child looked a lot like him. Every time she saw her daughter, she would think of that heartless man. What was laughable was that, right now, he had married a woman and was even pregnant. To only touch the same woman once, how laughable was that? To think that I actually believed it. Why were you so heartless when I was pregnant, but you were able to marry this woman? Yuanda. Donghuang Baiji called out faintly, just that. Her tone was so oppressive that it made people tremble in fear. Subordinate is here. Regarding the matter of going to Ying family to propose marriage, I'll leave it to you. I'll marry her. After finished speaking, Donghuang Baiji left with her hands behind her back. The 7 people in the palace still hadn't reacted to what just happened, and only Yuanda let out a sigh of relief. It's finally settled. Hey, what's going on? Why did Her Majesty suddenly agree to it? Xing Han walked over and asked curiously. Yuanda laughed lightly. Her Majesty has been thinking about a person. As long as that person is removed from her mind, there wouldn't be anything for her to think about anymore. The 7 people went into a daze and began to admire Yuanda. They didn't expect that Yuanda would be able to find out about what happened back then. Everyone, keep this matter a secret. It concerns the reputation of the Donghuang family. Yuanda said with a smile, then left the palace with everyone else. Donghuang Baiji didn't return to her room. She sat in the garden and stared blankly at the stars in the sky. Her pair of delicate hands were clenched so tightly that her nails had pierced into her palms, causing her palms to be devoid of blood. After a long while, Donghuang Baiji walked towards her daughter's room. Before she even got close to her daughter's room, she could hear the sound of someone tapping on a keyboard. Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately became cold as she fiercely pushed open the door and entered the room. Donghuang Li, who was currently playing a game, was startled. She hurriedly turned off her computer, then lowered her head and stood obediently at the side. Kneel down. Donghuang Li took down her keyboard, then with a plop sound, knelt down onto the keyboard. I feel that my mother is acting rather abnormally today. I have to be a bit more careful. Donghuang Baiji walked towards the front of the computer and stretched out her palm. Noiselessly, the monitor and the computer turned into dust and floated out of the window. Donghuang Li looked at the screen stupidly. This is the only thing that I have that can come into contact with the outside world, and my mother destroyed it. Chapter 167. Sitting on her daughter's bed, Donghuang Baiji caressed the bedsheet. Looking at her daughter who was crying softly, Donghuang Baiji's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Your heartless father is a liar. Donghuang Li wiped away her tears, and when she saw that her mother's eyes were red, she couldn't help but stand up and throw herself into her mother's embrace. Mother, don't cry. Ollie won't play games anymore in the future. I promise that I will study diligently every day and learn martial techniques. Donghuang Li hugged onto her mother's waist and made a vow with her childish voice. Donghuang Baiji lightly hugged onto her daughter. Donghuang Baiji is the closest person to me, however, the person she hated the most was Yihua. The funny thing was that he was still waiting, but this was the result. Yihua. Since you are heartless, then don't blame me for being heartless. Second floor of leisure bar. Ollie got disconnected. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Yi Zizi was overjoyed and said happily, little brat finally disconnected. Wait for me to execute her and lick her. Zizi, wait a moment. Perhaps, Ollie will come online soon. Qingya hurriedly said. Qing Yutong rubbed onto her chin and speculated, I feel that Ollie's mother has appeared, and Ollie might be kneeling on the keyboard right now. Her mother is really something, how could she bear to let a child kneel on the keyboard? Qingya sighed. If it was her own child, she would definitely not bear to let her child kneel on the keyboard. Yihua stood up and said faintly, Qingya, it is getting late, time to sleep. Oh. Qingya dragged out her last syllable and unwillingly followed behind Yihua. After the two of them left, Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi looked at each other. Qing Yutong's eyebrows twitched. Yi Zizi understood immediately. The two of them immediately changed their clothes. Yi Zizi loved cosplay. She had bought quite a lot of cosplay online this afternoon. There were dark, girly, sweet, and all kinds of cosplay styles. Delivery within the same city was really fast. Yihua returned to the bedroom and said to Qingya, change the quilt and bed sheet. Why? Isn't it clean? Chinya asked curiously. I don't like people who have slept with other people before. Yihua snorted and sat at the side. Chinya was confused. What do you mean by someone else slept on this bed before? Other than us, is there someone else that slept on this bed before? Suddenly, Chinya seemed to have thought of something. Isn't it just a doll? I'm really impressed. Hurry up. Alright, I'll change. Chinya said petulantly. After changing into a new blanket and bed sheet, Chinya let out a sigh of relief. Great sir, are you satisfied now? Yihua took a look. Other than me, if you put anything else on the bed in the future, see if I don't beat you up. BZZ, 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 I'm going to take a bath. After saying that, Chinya walked into the bathroom while humming a tune. Yihua twisted his neck, then changed into his pajamas and lied on the bed. For me, the Supreme Overlord, to let you hug me to sleep, just how great of a fortune are you? Not long after, Chinya walked out of the bathroom. Seems like she had a nice bath. Seeing that Yihua was already lying on the bed, she asked, aren't you going to take a bath? I washed them when I came back. Quickly go and take another shower. Chinya pulled onto Yihua's hand and pulled Yihua up. Yihua wrinkled his brows. Are you sick? Chinya sniffed. Such a big smell of smoke, let's quickly go. Yihua sighed. This woman is truly annoying. 5 minutes later, Yihua walked out of the bathroom, and Chinya, who was on the bed who was currently booking a plane ticket, went into a daze. So fast. Yihua did not say anything. After lying on the bed, he hugged onto Chinya. Chinya's face turned red. Recently, this fellow is becoming more and more shameless. In the past, I wished that I could stay far away from him, but now, I wish that I could stick onto him 24 hours a day. However, lying in Yihua's embrace felt really comfortable and gave me a sense of security. It was as if even if the sky were to collapse, Yihua would be there to hold it up, and furthermore, it was the kind that would be extremely easy. This blanket is too short. Yihua said gravely. Chinya, who was in his embrace, was startled. This fellow actually knows how to speak sweet words. Did the sun rise from the west today? Annoying, Chinya bashfully punched onto Yihua. We are already an old couple, yet you are still so flirtatious, big baddie. Yihua did not know what this woman was doing and continued, this blanket is too short. I know, I will still be together with you in my next life. Yihua was stupefied by this woman's IQ. What I am saying is that this blanket is too short. Blanket. Blanket. In order to emphasize, Yihua's exposed legs even trembled a little. Chinya seemed as if she had eaten a fly, and the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. I thought that Yihua was saying that this lifetime is too short, but I didn't expect that he was talking about a blanket. Yihua slowly lifted up Chinya's blushing face and said faintly, you are very greedy, to actually want my next life. Go and die, who wants your next life? Chinya directly buried herself in Yihua's arms. This is too embarrassing. Yihua laughed lightly and held on to his head of hair. The days are gradually not that boring anymore. Not knowing how much time had passed, Chinya suddenly asked, are you asleep? Yihua responded. I am so excited that I can't sleep. Upon thinking that they were going to take wedding photos soon, Chinya started fantasizing about what would look good on her, what would look good on Yihua. Yihua hugged onto Chinya's shoulders and said faintly, you will naturally be able to sleep when your heart is calm. Yihua, let me count the sheep. Childish. Come on, I want to sleep, Chinya continued, let me start. 1 sheep. Chinya said with her eyes closed. 2 sheep. Yihua said helplessly. 3 sheep. 4 sheep. Beautiful sheep. Lazy. Lamb. Chinya mumbled. Roasted lamb. Yihua wrinkled his brows. Lamb hotpot. Spicy lamb hotpot. Speaking until here, the two immediately opened their eyes. Chinya pouted her mouth and rubbed onto her stomach. Hubby, I am hungry. I am a little hungry too. Yihua was originally not hungry, but as he spoke, he started to feel hungry. What is more important than eating? The two put on their pajamas and directly went out. However, right when they opened the door, they saw the two thieves. What are you two doing? Yihua shouted out. Qin Yutong and Yizizi could be seen bending their bodies and walking with small steps. This is not the main point, the main point is their dressing. Chuyin. Chinya asked curiously, what are the two of you dressing up like this for in the middle of the night? To scare people. Qin Yutong immediately reacted and said, Zizi said that she didn't eat her fill at night, so I brought her out to eat supper. Just nice, we are going out too, let's go together. Chinya shook her head helplessly. Qin Yutong and Yizizi immediately collapsed. They originally wanted to go out to dance disco, but in the end, before they even reached the staircase, they bumped into Yihua who was going out. How can we be so unlucky? It was still that King Song Mansion's hotpot restaurant, the main point was that it was only a few steps away. Chapter 168. Even though it was late at night, at least half of the customers in the King Song Residence's hotpot restaurant were still seated. From the looks of it, most of them were unable to sleep and were here to eat supper. There were even a few who came out in their pajamas. The moment the four of them entered through the door, they attracted the attention of everyone. With this kind of combination, it was impossible for them to not attract the attention of everyone. Especially for Qin Yutong and Yizizi, they were definitely two Lolitas. That small skirt coupled with black stockings, it was simply enough to make people spurt out blood. There was no need to talk about Qin Yutong, her pair of slender legs were enough to make people unable to take their eyes off her, but Yizizi was even more lethal, she was a little lowly. Minimum of 3 years, no upper limit. The few of them headed upstairs to the private room. Last time, they sat in the hall because there were no private rooms available. Those two people are here as well. Qin Yutong could be heard crying out in surprise. Yihua and Chinya looked over, and saw a man and a woman talking and laughing while eating. Isn't this boy the one who was abandoned that day? And didn't that girl run away with the rich second generation? It had only been a few days and they were already chatting and laughing together. The fire of gossip ignited within Qin Yutong's heart, just that, she was stopped by Chinya. Why are you so concerned about other people's matters? Yizizi had a curious look on her face. However, when Yihua and the others were eating hotpot, Zhou Yi was currently at his own winery receiving a guest. No, it was another owner. At this moment, Lord Zhou was lying on the ground, and a black vortex appeared in front of him. Master, this lowly one has received news that Emperor Tsang is dead. But the cause of death is unknown. Lord Zhou said while trembling with fear. Although a powerful master had died, I, Lord Zhou, am lacking in other things, but I have a lot of masters. A deep voice came from the black vortex, so what if he's dead? I originally wanted him to kill a few more. Lord Zhou felt that it was not convenient for the owner of the black vortex to reveal himself. He was definitely a powerful person and wanted to use someone else to do his dirty work. Go to Sanya tomorrow. Someone will tell you what to do. Yes. After finished speaking, the black whirlpool disappeared. Zhou Yi slowly stood up and let out a breath. For me to be able to get to my current position, I have to rely on the help of these masters. Just that, why did Emperor Tsang die just like that? Originally, I still have a lot of things that I need him to do, what a pity. Lord Zhou took out his 8848 titanium phone, opened WeChat, found someone and typed. Master, the Black Vortex wants me to go to Sonya tomorrow. After sending the message, Lord Joe picked up a cigar, cut off one end, and leaned back comfortably on the sofa, waiting for the reply. Ding dong. Lord Joe immediately checked the replies. Observe the situation and wait for my orders. Yes. Lord Joe laughed. Why were these big shots killing each other for no reason? Luckily, Lord Joe had a good brain. But what was going to happen to Sonya? He was really curious. In a park in Longton City, it was pitch black here. However, there were two shadows sitting on a bench, flickering with a faint light. One could even hear them if one walked closer. Bu. They were the duo who had refunded their rent and came out to sleep in the park. They were probably the bitter duo. Death Mage and Sun Fong were holding on to their phones, and beside them was a power bank. Death Mage and Sun Fong were using all their strength to press on the screen, especially Sun Fong. It was as if she had a grudge against the screen. Suddenly, Death Mage's phone's battery was low. Death Mage picked up the battery pack and took a look at it. He immediately sent a WeChat message to Sun Fong. Looking at the WeChat message that Death Mage had sent over, Sun Fong sneered. You want to have a power bank? Go and die. You tricked me out and said you have a solution. Is this the solution? Sleep in the park. This scoundrel is just cheating me of my rent. Reply, return the money. Death Mage immediately typed a reply. If you don't give me the power bank, how am I going to fish? If I don't fish, how am I going to return the money to you? It seemed to be quite reasonable, but Sun Fong wouldn't fall for it. She protected the power bank within her bosom. Return the money, return my life, return my innocence. Death Mage replied, don't force me to make a move. Sun Fong wasn't afraid at all. Come and try. Death Mage could be seen placing his precious phone and power bank at the side, then directly pressed Sun Fong down on the bench. This scene was a bit erotic. You damned skeleton, let go of me, scoundrel. My entire body is hard. Sun Fong pressed onto Death Mage's sternum with both of her hands and pushed with all her might. However, how could this little bit of strength be Death Mage's opponent? GGG. Imperial translation, are you giving or not? Although Sun Fong didn't know what Death Mage was saying, she seemed to be able to feel it. Not giving, get lost. Death Mage could be seen grabbing towards the power bank, but his position seemed to be a bit off. The two seemed to have been paused. Death Mage felt that his hand was a bit soft, and he tried again. Sun Fong opened her beautiful eyes wide. My chest is actually being attacked by a skeleton. Shameless skeleton, I am going to kill you today. Sun Fong could be seen taking the initiative and pressing Death Mage down, and Death Mage reacted quickly and pressed his bone hand onto her chest. Sun Fong looked at the bone hand on her chest blankly, and her expression was terrifyingly gloomy. TSK. On a moonless night, to actually forcefully snatch a man, a demoness. Today, I, Do Fusher, will uphold justice on behalf of the heavens and save this innocent man. A young man who wore a yellow Daoist robe could be seen suddenly appearing. On his back was a peachwood sword, and on his hand was a talisman. Follow the law. Do Fusher threw out the yellow talisman, and it just so happened to be stuck onto Sun Fong's forehead. Right now, Sun Fong received 100,000 points of violence. Are you fucking blind? It just so happens that I don't have a place to vent my anger. Consider yourself unlucky. Sun Fong tore off the talisman on her forehead, and Do Fusher turned pale with fright. Demoness. You still have some skills. Watch how I am going to subdue you today. Subdue your sister. Sun Fong shot out explosively, and her body turned into a faint afterimage. Death Mage who sat up picked up Sun Fong's power bank and plugged it into his phone. Bu. Do Fusher didn't expect that this malicious spirit would be so powerful. To actually not be afraid of any talismans, and to even be able to catch the peachwood sword with her bare hands. In any case, I have the ghost catching system, so how can I be beaten up by a malicious spirit? Plop. Big sister ghost, spare me. Sun Fong was currently in a berserk state, and everyone misunderstood that I had an affair with the skeleton. Even the Taoist priest thought that I was violating the skeleton. How can I not be angry? I'm going to fucking kill you. The resentment in Sun Fong's heart was indeed not light. If not, why would Do Fusher treat Sun Fong as a ghost? Do Fusher looked at Sun Fong, who was incomparably sinister. I'm finished. It wasn't easy for me to obtain the system, and in less than a year, I'm going to die before I even have the chance to show off. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no pain coming. Could it be that this is death? Let go of me, I'm going to kill this Taoist priest who is full of nonsense. Death Mage could be seen holding on to Sun Fong's waist with one hand, while Sun Fong was baring her fangs and brandishing her claws at Do Fusher. Do Fusher slowly raised his head. At this moment, the moonlight just happened to shine onto Death Mage's face, and Do Fusher's eyeballs were about to pop out. Chapter 169. Sun Fong, who had almost calmed down, was immediately lit up again. You damn Taoist, I'm going to hack you into pieces. Who's husband and wife with it? Are your dog eyes blind? Death Mage immediately typed a message with one hand, then showed it to Sun Fong. He seems to be quite rich, it won't be too late to kill him after we snatch his money. Sun Fong, who was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down, gradually calmed down and said in a sweet voice, "Let me go." Death Mage let go of Sun Fong's willowy waist. I didn't expect that a human's waist would feel so good to the touch. It is soft and very comfortable. It's no wonder that both His Honor and Master have women. This is probably what His Honor likes, right? Hugging Sun Fong at night feels very comfortable. Looking at Sun Fong, who was not far away from Death Mage seemed to have understood why His Honor wanted Sun Fong to fall madly in love with him. So this is a reward for me. I am truly stupid, only now did I understand His Honor's painstaking efforts. I didn't expect that His Honor would actually be so concerned about the private life of his subordinate. I am truly touched. Sun Fong walked up to Do Fusher and shouted, "Hand over the money." Do Fusher thought that he was going to die, but he didn't expect that the evil ghost couple only wanted money. "Sister Ghost, this is all I have." Do Fusher took out his empty wallet. There was only about 20 yuan in it. He was even poorer than her. Sun Fong kicked him. It seemed like she was very angry. Don't think that I don't know. Who still carries cash these days? WeChat transfer. Sun Fong shouted. F***ck me. Now, evil ghosts are in sync with the times. They're even using WeChat to commit robbery. He had underestimated this vengeful ghost's cultivation. Bastard! Hurry up and come over here. Sun Fong shouted towards Death Mage. However, Do Fusher, who was kneeling on the ground, was stunned. Are all ghosts so affectionate these days? Sister Gui, I'm just trying to make a living. There are fewer and fewer ghosts these days. They've all been captured by the big sections. I really don't have much money. Do Fusher begged bitterly. Humph. So you're an orphan. Stop quibbling and transfer the money. Orphan. Do Fusher's heart was bleeding. After adding him on WeChat, Sun Fong shouted, "Transfer 10,000 first." Now, even ghosts know that WeChat can only transfer 10,000 yuan a day. Death Mage happily accepted the 10,000 credits, then typed a few words, "Kill it." Sun Fong raised her hand. Big sister ghost, I can still transfer 10,000 tomorrow. Do Fusher immediately shouted. Who cared if it was useful or not? Staying alive was more important. Death Mage was overjoyed. However, Sun Fang didn't care so much. Only death could calm her heart. It was a money tree that could drop money every day. It would be a pity if it died. Death Mage hugged onto Sun Fang, who had gone berserk once again. However, Sun Fang's delicate hands had already fallen onto Death Mage's body. Do Fusher looked at the cracked ground beside him, and his back turned cold. Big brother Gue was the best, sister Gue was too cruel. Let me go, I want to kill him. Dead ghost, quickly let go of me. Sun Fang struggled within Death Mage's embrace as she scratched and bit at Death Mage. Death Mage let out a breath. This woman is truly insane. Seems like I have no choice but to use my trump card. As long as I use my trump card, I can guarantee that she will immediately faint. That is, kiss of death. Death Mage gave out his second kiss in his life, and Sun Fang opened her beautiful eyes wide. Looking at the empty eye sockets in front of her, her eyes rolled and she fainted. Do Fusher slowly lowered his head. I am still a child, big brother Gue, are you very short of money? Do Fusher asked. Death Mage, who was hugging onto Sun Fang, typed on his phone, tell me. I just passed by a winery, and I heard that something big is going to happen in Sanya, and there is money to be made from it. Although Do Fusher didn't hear what Death Mage said, he roughly understood what Death Mage meant. Is there really such a thing? Death Mage typed and asked. In order to save my life, even if there isn't, I have to say that there is. Big brother Gue, how would I dare to lie to you? Death Mage thought for a bit. Since something big is going to happen, I will definitely be able to gather information. Furthermore, I will also be able to make money, so why not? If you dare to lie to me, you are dead for sure. Death Mage typed. With a wave of his hand, the three of them instantly disappeared from the park and appeared in Sanya. Death Mage truly comes and goes without a trace. Yihua is still waiting for the flight tomorrow. Right now, Yihua and the others had just finished eating supper and were returning home together. Hubby, I'm so full. Qinya held onto Yihua's arm and said sweetly. After the misunderstanding was solved, Qinya became like a little girl and liked to act cute in front of Yihua. Yihua patted onto Qinya's head, who asked you to eat so much. So full, Zizi is also full. The two Chuyin that were following behind Qinya held onto their waists and looked as if they were going to die from bloating. These are the three foodies. Of course, the one who looks good is called a foodie, the one who looks ugly is called a rice bucket. Returning back to the bedroom, Qinya, who had eaten and drank to her heart's content, instantly fell asleep. She was the kind that wouldn't wake up even if you shouted at her. Early morning. The weather today was not bad, the sun was not very big, suitable for going out for a trip. Yihua opened his eyes and looked at his chest. Seems like Qinya's drooling problem is finally gone. Wake up. Raising his hand, Yihua lightly patted Qinya, wake up. No, it is still early now, our flight is at noon. I will buy breakfast for you. Yihua was a man who kept his promise. Since he had promised, he would definitely fulfill it. Qinya hugged onto Yihua tightly, you are not allowed, I will buy breakfast for you later. Yihua had no choice but to carry Qinya and throw her into the washroom to let her sober up a bit. However, the sound of Qinya fighting Yihua to the death could be heard from the washroom. The result was, of course, Qinya was defeated. Big sister Qin, why are big cousin and the rest so noisy? Yizizi lied on the bed and asked in a daze. Qin Yutong had even more of a bad sleeping posture, the blanket was kicked off the bed as she muttered, it will be fine once you get used to it. Oh, while smoking, Yihua walked out of leisure bar and arrived at the entrance of the alley. 2 pancakes, one of them with eggs and sausages. Yihua stood in front of the aunt and shouted. Upon hearing that, the aunt smiled and said, have you reconciled? Yihua did not speak. Stop pretending, what is there to be shy about? Coaxing your wife is a natural thing to do. Which eye of yours saw that I am pretending? Do you believe that I will not eat here anymore in the future? The ant who was making pancakes laughed and said, you should smile more. What is the point of putting on a straight face every day, especially when facing your wife? Preposterous logic. Yihua said indifferently. The ant was not convinced, and a debate began. Qinya waited for a long time and did not see Yihua return, and was a little worried. Thus, she ran to the entrance of the alley and actually saw Yihua and the ant arguing about something. Yihua, you too? Qinya walked over and asked curiously. Yihua stretched out his hand and hugged onto the ant's shoulder, then said, my wife, I will make the decision. The ant was speechless. Just a few days ago, you two still look like you were about to die. If not for Ant helping you, you two would not be able to reconcile so quickly. Next time, don't expect Ant to help you. Chapter 170. While eating the ant's crepe, Yihua snorted. If it wasn't for the fact that the crepe tastes good, I wouldn't have come here to buy it from you. Qinya didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she hit Yihua. What are you doing? That ant actually said that I'm afraid of my wife. Just thinking about it makes me angry. While biting on the crepe that the ant made, Yihua scolded the ant. In actuality, every time Yihua went to buy breakfast, the auntie would always sincerely tell Yihua about it. In the beginning, Yihua had the intention to kill Yihua, but at that time, Yihua endured it. After a few years had passed, Yihua had actually gotten used to it. If I don't listen to the auntie's nagging, I would feel like I am lacking something. Humph, isn't it good to be afraid of me? Qinya laughed. Yihua chuckled and walked into leisure bar. Stop right there, what do you mean by, hee hee? Qinya stomped her feet, then took a bite of the Chinese jianbing. So fragrant. After returning to the second floor, everyone began to clean up their clothes. Yihua looked at the three women. Are they preparing to move or what? Especially Qin Yutang and Yizizi, these two big chests. The box was almost as tall as Yizizi. Qinya dragged her luggage out and looked at her sister and Zizi. Why did you two bring so many things? Qin Yutang and Yizizi looked at Qinya's suitcase, then looked at their own suitcase. Cousin-in-law, your suitcase is even bigger than Zizi's. Qinya rolled her eyes at Yihua, who was leaning against the door. Your big cousin's clothes are also stuffed inside. Big brother is even lazier than Zizi. Yihua glared at Yizizi, then said faintly, let's go. Qin Yutang cried out in surprise, me and Zizi still haven't changed yet, wait a moment for us. After finished speaking, Qin Yutang closed the door. When Qin Yutang and Yizizi appeared once again, the corner of Yihua and Qinya's mouth couldn't help but twitch. It is one thing for Yizizi to wear a princess dress and hold a small umbrella, but you, Qin Yutang, are already so big, and you are still wearing such a dress. The main point is still my face. Qinya's head was hurting. Sister, I have another set here. Do you want to change? Qin Yutang said elatedly. If it was only one person wearing it, it would be crazy, but if it was two people wearing it, two crazy people wearing it, at least there would be one companion. It would be best if big sister was dragged into the water, then there would be three crazy people. Yizizi turned around and giggled, eldest Biaoga, eldest cousin-in-law, is Zizi beautiful? It must be said that Yizizi was indeed extremely cute, and there was no problem with Qin Yutang dressing up like this, but walking on the street like this, is it really suitable? Sigh, let's go. Qinya said dispiritedly. She felt as if she was bringing along three children who were going out on a trip. Arriving at the airport, Qin Yutang and Yizizi instantly became the focus of attention. Basically, everyone was looking at the two of them, and taking all kinds of photos. Especially Yizizi, uncles love her the most. 9 out of 10 Lolas are rich, and there's still one. Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi were very magnanimous, and they put on various kinds of poses. An airport was forcefully turned into a cosplay exhibition, and if it wasn't for Qinya dragging the two of them away, the two of them would definitely play for an entire day. Qinya finally knew why Yihua said that on that day. My heart is so tired, I have to be their nanny. When they arrived at the VIP waiting room, they finally stopped talking, but they were still discussing all kinds of clothes. Now you know that you have a headache. Yihua sat on the sofa and said faintly while looking at a magazine. Qinya let out a breath. I should have listened to Yihua back then, so tired, it's all master's fault. I am just a servant. Suddenly, an arrogant middle-aged man walked in from the door, but when he saw Yihua and the others, he immediately shrunk his head and slightly turned around. Xiao Jiu, Qin Yutong shouted out. Jiu Ye's heart sunk. Why is it them again? Nothing good will come out of being together with them. However, I have already been discovered, if I were to leave just like this, sigh. Boss, lady boss. Jiu Yi smiled and walked forward. Yihua raised his head and took a look, then lowered his head and looked at the magazine again. He felt that some of the clothes in the magazine were very suitable for Qinya. Xiao Jiu, where are you going? Qinya smiled slightly, completely different from the cold-faced CEO in the past. The power of love is just too great. Jiu Yi felt very bitter in his heart. Please don't go to the same place, lady boss. I am preparing to go to Sanya. You are going to Sanya too. We are going too. Jiu Yi, other than laughing dryly, Jiu Yi didn't know how to express his current mood. Jiu Yi didn't dare to sit down. He poured a cup of water and stood at the side, waiting. Suddenly, his phone rang, and when he took out his phone to take a look, it was actually his wife who called. What's the matter? Jiu Yi asked lightly. A questioning voice could be heard coming out from the phone. Where did you go? Didn't I tell you last night? I am going to Sanya to settle some matters. Jiu Yi slightly wrinkled his brows. This wife of mine is always letting her imagination run wild every day. Sanya. To attend the Ocean and Sky Banquet. Pfft. F***K, you can even think of this, why don't you go write a book? Are you sick? Jiu Yi shouted lightly, the cup of water in his hand trembled, and the tea spilled onto his suit. A flight attendant could be seen slowly walking over and said delicately, Sir, your water is flowing out, do you need me to clean it up? Jiu Yi went into a daze, and the woman on the phone was also stunned. Soon after, Jiu Yi exploded in anger. Gong Wei, you still dare to talk about going to Sanya? To actually look for a lady, if you have the ability, don't come back. Hearing the busy tone from the phone, Jiu Yi went into a daze. However, the flight attendant also heard the voice from the phone. Sir, I'm sorry for causing trouble for you. Jiu Yi sighed, then kept the 8848 titanium phone. It's fine. Sorry for disturbing you. I knew that nothing good would come out of meeting this couple. It hasn't even been a minute and my wife is going to divorce. After waiting for half an hour, Yihua and the others boarded the plane. The plane that they bought was, of course, a business class seat. After Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi boarded the plane, they immediately went to sleep. However, Yi Zizi was lying on Qin Yutong's body as she slept. They definitely looked like mother and daughter. Meanwhile, Qinya was lying on Yihua's body, quietly enjoying the moment of tranquility. Jiu Yi was just sitting at the side, but he still couldn't let go of himself. This is truly depressing. Suddenly, a flight attendant walked over. Jiu Yi raised his head and took a look, and it was actually that flight attendant from just now. Sir, it's not good for your water stain to stick to your clothes, let me help you clean it up. The flight attendant slightly bowed her body. Jiu Yi was an experienced person, and he immediately understood what this flight attendant meant. Interesting, since you want to help me clean it up so much, I will help you clean it up then. Where are we going? Sir, follow me, there is a place to change clothes here. The so-called place to change clothes was the washroom, and when Jiu-Yi walked out of the washroom had indeed been cleaned up. After flying for 1.5 hours, they finally arrived at Sanya International Airport. Qin Yutang and Yi Zizi were holding onto a small umbrella, and they had a sleepy look on their face, making them look very lovable. Boss, lady boss, where are you two staying? I will send you two there. Jiu-Yi said courteously, feeling that he could finally get rid of them. Chapter 171. That's too much trouble for you. Qinya also appeared to be very polite. It's no trouble at all. Then let's go to the Three Seasons Hotel. Lord Zhou, why? Why are we even staying in the same hotel? Why does the heavens have to target me, Jiu-Yi? I really want to stay in another hotel, but Master has already instructed me to stay in this hotel and wait for orders. Big cousin, Zizi can't walk anymore. Hug me. Yi Zizi rubbed her hazy eyes and stretched out her arms. Yi Hua let out a sigh. This fellow is truly too lazy. Just as Yi Zizi was about to carry Yi Zizi, Qinya was faster than Yi Zizi. Yi Hua was speechless. Yi Zizi could be seen hugging onto Qinya's white neck, and immediately fell asleep. Yi Zizi was famous for being lazy. When she was bored, she would sleep, and it was the kind of sleep that lasted only seconds. The longest time she slept was several months. The Three Seasons Hotel was located by the sea. Its location was excellent, and it was a 5-star hotel with complete facilities. One could face the sea when they woke up in the morning. This feeling was very comfortable, but the price was not cheap. After arriving at the hotel, Yi Zizi was once again full of energy, and was chattering non-stop with Qin Yutang. Without thinking too much, these two were definitely discussing to do something bad. There were a lot of people going in and out of the Three Seasons Hotel, causing Qinya to be a bit puzzled. Although it is currently the tourist season, the number of people here is a bit too much, right? Yi Hua felt that these people weren't ordinary people, and he was rather curious in his heart. What are so many people gathering here for? Shouldn't they be discussing about going to the north to snatch the ancient godly item? After Jiu-Yi arrived at the hotel, he hurriedly took his leave. Although I really want to hug onto this thigh, but I feel that this thigh is very dangerous, even more dangerous than those masters. The main thing is that Jiu-Yi doesn't have any confidence in his heart. This boss doesn't play his cards according to common sense, and furthermore, I can't see through him. Fortunately, I booked a room yesterday. Qinya said with a light smile. Yi Zizi, who was at the side, was holding a small umbrella and licking her lips. There was so much delicious food in front of her. She almost couldn't hold it in anymore. Qin Yutang also held onto the small umbrella and acted cute. After poking Yi Zizi, Qin Yutang's eyebrows twitched. Yi Zizi immediately understood and raised his eyebrows. It seemed like the two of them didn't even need to talk to communicate anymore. They could only use their eyebrows. After taking the room card, everyone went upstairs to rest. Qinya decided to start taking the wedding photos tomorrow, then properly accompany Yi Hua to have a good rest and treat it as a honeymoon. While Yi Hua was currently on vacation happily, little Ali, who was far away in Voidless Realm, wasn't so lucky. He finished his homework in the morning, ate his lunch, and practiced his swordsmanship in the afternoon. Right now, Dong Huangli was brandishing a sword that was even longer than Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli's face was covered with sweat, but Dong Huangli didn't complain about it. Dong Huangli's eyes were filled with determination. I will definitely not disappoint my mother. When my mother sees my achievements, she will definitely be happy and reveal a smile on her face, and not frown all day long. Soft shouts rang out in the side courtyard, and the female attendants in the surroundings felt extremely distressed. Such a young child, under normal circumstances, would act like a spoiled child by her mother's side. Just because she was the Empress's child, did she have to work so hard? Your Highness, please take a rest. One of the maids said with a pained heart. Dong Wangli could be heard saying, there's no need for that, Mother will definitely be happy to see how hardworking Ali is. The maid let out a light sigh. The Empress is very busy every single day, and she can only come over to see little His Highness at night. Dong Wangli repeatedly practiced the sword technique that her mother taught her, and her sweat had already drenched her clothes. Not knowing how long had passed, Dong Wangli kept her sword and looked towards her mother's bedroom. The bedroom is clearly right in front of me, but I can't go over. Your Highness, please take a rest. The maid brought over a cup of tea and said with concern. Ali misses Mother. Dong Wangli didn't take the cup of tea and said in a daze. The maid was a bit flustered, and immediately knelt in front of Dong Wangli. Your Highness, the Empress has given the order, Your Highness is not allowed to walk out of this side courtyard without permission. How could Dong Wangli not know about this? Dong Wangli let out a light breath. Big Sister Ping, it's all Ali's fault. I made you all follow Ali and live here. Perhaps, Ali shouldn't even exist in this world. Dong Wangli slowly squatted down and hugged onto her legs. From the moment Dong Wangli was born until now, she had never left this side courtyard. Other than those 8 elders, no one knew that the Empress had a daughter. Even the maids that were serving the Empress were not allowed to step out of the side courtyard. Of course, there were also the Empress's imperial guards that were stationed at the entrance of the side courtyard. These maids had watched Dong Wangli grow up day by day. However, the more they watched Dong Wangli grow up, the more their hearts ached. The Empress is too heartless. However, Dong Wang Baiji had her own difficulties as well. Ali's birth was unknown, and if this matter were to be spread out, the consequences would be unthinkable. It might even implicate the entire voidless realm. In this world, which mother would be willing to lock their child up? Your Highness. The maid lightly hugged onto Dong Wangli and comforted her. Let's go back to our room. Dong Wangli took another look at her mother's bedroom, then dragged her petite back into the room. The 3 maids immediately went to prepare hot water and food. After eating dinner by herself, Dong Wangli sat in front of the window and looked at the stars. Dong Wangli was already used to it. Originally, there was a computer that allowed me to interact with the outside world, but right now, I don't even have a computer anymore. I can only continue to be in a daze and wait for my mother to come over. I should be able to sleep after hugging my mother. I should be able to have a good dream, right? I should be able to dream that my mother will bring me to sit on a pirate ship, eat ice cream, and eat McDonald's. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Dong Wangli waited for an unknown amount of time. Dong Wangli turned her head around and looked at the door. Mother still hasn't come over. Dong Wangli stood up and walked to the door. It was very quiet outside the door. Dong Wangli wrinkled her brows, then walked to the door of the courtyard with small steps. From the crack of the door, she saw that there was someone standing outside the courtyard. Dong Wangli was a bit disappointed. She turned around and walked towards the courtyard. If only I am able to pass through the wall. What is my mother doing right now? Suddenly, Dong Wangli's petite body disappeared from the courtyard, and when she reappeared, she was already outside the wall. Dong Wangli was badly frightened by herself. Looking at the guards that were tens of meters away, Dong Wangli immediately ran to the corner and covered her mouth. Wasn't I inside the courtyard just now? Why did I come out? Also, my head feels so dizzy, I am seeing double. After a long while, Dong Wangli finally came back to her senses. Originally, Dong Wangli wanted to go back to the courtyard, but when she saw her mother's bedroom, Dong Wangli wanted to hug her mother before going back to sleep. Since Dong Wangli had already decided, she walked towards her mother's bedroom. This was the first time that Dong Wangli walked outside of her mother's bedroom. Every single grass and every single tree was able to arouse Dong Huangli's curiosity. Unknowingly, Dong Huangli felt very happy. Soon, Dong Huangli arrived outside of her mother's bedroom. Dong Huangli muttered, "There are so many guards. If only I could go in like how I did just now." Dong Huangli immediately appeared inside the bedroom. However, Dong Huangli was currently holding onto her head, looking like she was about to faint. However, when Dong Huangli saw that the bedroom was right in front of her, Dong Huangli became very excited. The lights in the bedroom are still lit, mother should still be dealing with some matters. Dong Huangli felt that she should go and pour a cup of water for her mother to drink and tell her mother to rest early. Chapter 172. Before even reaching the entrance of the palace, Dong Huangli could already hear the voices of people talking inside. "Seems like my mother is still busy, I'll just wait here and not disturb my mother." Within the palace, Dong Huangbaiji was sitting on a purple gold chair while sipping on a cup of tea. Below her, there were two elders, Yuanda and Xinghan. "Your Majesty, Ing family has already received our message and agreed to it without any hesitation." Yuanda had a joyous look on his face. The marriage with Ing family was a win-win situation. If the Empress is able to give birth to a baby boy, there won't be three big powers anymore, there will only be one big power. Xinghan said gravely, "Your Majesty, Ji family seems to be doing something, it seems like they want to destroy the marriage." Yuanda snorted coldly, "Do you think that Ji family can contend against two big families? They are truly overestimating themselves. This marriage is related to the change of the entire situation, the aristocratic families and the big sects are getting restless." Xinghan was a bit worried. Although the marriage was good, a lot of people didn't want to see this kind of marriage, especially Ji family. Dong Huangbaiji placed her right hand on her chin and asked faintly, "What is the reaction of the aristocratic families in the north?" Yuanda paused for a moment, then said with a frown, "The 5 aristocratic families have sent their reports, 3 congratulate and 2 oppose." "What is the reason for the opposition?" Dong Huangbaiji asked calmly. Yuanda and Xinghan looked at each other, then Xinghan said gravely, "Your Majesty is noble and holy, how can a mortal be worthy of the Empress?" Dong Huangbaiji laughed lightly, but she didn't say anything. After a while Dong Huangbaiji asked, "What is the situation inside Ing family?" Ing family's eldest young master seems to be a bit unhappy after receiving the news, and the second young master, Ing Kongsher, is holding a banquet in Sanya. Xinghan said with a smile. Dong Huangbaiji said calmly, "He is happy. Of course, being able to marry the Empress is his good fortune. Furthermore, the betrothal gifts are still being prepared, and we will be able to set off tomorrow morning." Bang! A clear and melodious sound interrupted everyone's conversation. Yuanda and Xinghan's expression darkened, and they immediately disappeared from where they stood and appeared outside of the palace. When they saw Dong Huangli, who had a surprised look on her face, they immediately paid their respects, "Your Majesty." Dong Huangbaiji walked out slowly. Looking at the teacup that was knocked over and her daughter who was still in a daze, Dong Huangbaiji said, regarding the betrothal gifts, "I'll leave it to you two. Go and check if anyone has seen Ali. If there is, you two should know what to do." "Yes. Yes." Dong Huangbaiji carried on to her absent-minded daughter, then disappeared from the bedroom and appeared in a small house within the courtyard. Lightly placing down her daughter, Dong Huangbaiji said gravely, "Kneel down." Dong Huangli stood there foolishly, her entire head was completely stupefied. Mother is actually going to marry someone else. Mother doesn't want me anymore, and doesn't want father anymore. Kneel down. Dong Huangbaiji shouted out in a low voice. "It is fortunate that I did not make a huge mistake tonight, however, I was truly too mischievous." Dong Huangli could be heard saying, "I won't kneel. I dare you to say it one more time." Dong Huang Baiji looked at her daughter in disbelief. She actually dares to talk back to me. "I won't kneel, I hate mother." Dong Huangli's body trembled, and 2 streams of tears flowed out from her eyes. Dong Huang Baiji's expression immediately changed as she raised her hand up high. However, Dong Huangli did not have the slightest bit of fear as she looked at her mother, who seemed unfamiliar to her. In the end, Dong Huang Baiji didn't manage to slap Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji retracted her hand. "Ali, why do you hate mother? Is it because mother locked you up in here?" Dong Huangli questioned her mother like a little adult. "Mother, you are being disrespectful to father. Your father is already dead, why should I be disrespectful to him? In any case, if mother were to marry another man, it would be disrespectful to father. Furthermore, if mother were to give birth to another baby, she would definitely not want Ali anymore." Upon thinking that her mother would never come back to her house again, Dong Huangli cried even louder. Dong Huang Baiji let out a sigh and prepared to carry her stubborn daughter. However, who knew that Dong Huangli would not allow her to carry her daughter and struggled free from her mother's embrace. "Ali, you don't have to worry about adults' matters, you just have to do your homework." Dong Huangli could be seen kneeling onto the ground and begging, "Mother, can you not marry another man? Is it because Ali is not good enough? Ali can sleep a few hours less in the future. As long as mother is happy, Ali is willing to do anything." Dong Huang Baiji's expression changed, however, she gradually regained her calmness and said, "Go and rest early." After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji walked out of the house. However, when Dong Huang Baiji closed the door, a stream of tears flowed out from her eyes. However, very quickly, the tears evaporated, and the delicate look on her face disappeared. Ali, who was inside the house, sat powerlessly on the ground. "Mother doesn't want me anymore." Within the 3 Seasons Hotel, Yihua had already fallen asleep while hugging onto Qinya, and Qinya, who was sleeping, had a smile on her face. I reckon that she was having a good dream. In another room, Qing Yutong and Yizizi began changing their clothes again. "Big sister Qing, what clothes are we going to wear tonight? The uniform is still 2D, and it is still the maid uniform." Yizizi flipped through her suitcase, and inside the suitcase, there were all beautiful and cute clothes. Qing Yutong took out a set of nurse uniform, then revealed out an evil smile. "Zizi, how about this set of mine?" "Awesome, then what should I wear to go to the disco dance?" Yizizi said dispiritedly. "Big sister will help you choose, this lowly version of the teacher uniform is quite cute." While big sister Qing's eyes sure are good, it is the same as what Zizi was thinking. Yizizi hugged onto the clothes, seemingly like they were treasures. "Change into the clothes, let's go. Go go." Not long after, the two changed into the uniforms. There was no need to talk about Qing Yutong. She wore a little white cap, matched with the nurse uniform, and added with white stockings, she was simply able to make people's blood spurt out. However, if Qingya were to see her little sister's appearance, she would definitely pick up a kitchen knife and chase after her, because right now, Qing Yutong still looked like her big sister. The lowly version of the teacher uniform on Yizizi was even more incredible, especially those 2 ponytails. Yizizi really wanted to grab onto one with each of her hands. "Damn, Zizi, you are too cute, let big sister kiss you." Don't want. "I won't let you kiss me." Qing Yutong didn't care so much and directly pounced onto Yizizi. The scene was a bit erotic, fill in the blanks yourself. After playing around for a short while, the two walked towards the bar downstairs of the 3 Seasons Hotel. When the passers-by saw the two's attire, they were undoubtedly dumbfounded. "Dressing up like this in the middle of the night, aren't you afraid of losing contact?" In another room of the hotel, Jiu Yi also received the orders of his 2 masters. Right now, Jiu Yi was very gloomy. My two masters actually told me to go and kill someone, and it is even the same person. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? If I knew that it would be like this, I would have called someone else. I am not an assassin. Looking at the photo on my phone, this man is quite handsome. It is a pity that he provoked someone that he shouldn't have provoked. Jiu Yi raised up the two bottles in his hands. Killing someone without a trace. I heard from my masters that after drinking this medicine, I won't die for the time being, but when I want to die, I will die. These two masters are thinking the same thing. Chapter 173. There was a Three Seasons bar downstairs of the Three Seasons Hotel. The place was quite big, and the business was also very good. There was no shortage of men hunting for sex, and there was no shortage of women seeking excitement. As long as you had money, you could really do whatever you wanted here. The DJ in the bar stirred up the atmosphere. Countless young men and women shook their bodies crazily, enjoying the excitement of physical contact with strangers. In the corner of the bar, two men sat in the booth. They were dressed in ordinary clothes and were not eye-catching. However, no one could have imagined that one of the men was the second young master of the Ying family, Ying Kongsher, and the other was his personal attendant, Liu Bai. The two of them had been master and servant since they were young, and their relationship was quite good. At this time, Ying Kongsher was shaking his head along with the rhythm of the music. He was in a great mood, but Liu Bai, who was beside him, seemed very worried. "Young master, let's go back. It's enough for your wedding. Don't cause any trouble," Liu Bai suggested. When the young master received the news today, he was so excited that he almost went to the heavens. Not only did he want to hold a banquet, he even sneaked out to have fun tonight. Ying Kongsher laughed and shouted, "Bibi, cheer up. Who would know that I'm here? But I'm afraid that young master will harm you," Liu Bai said worriedly. "Do you know why Her Majesty chose me and not him?" Ying Kongsher asked with a confident smile. Liu Bai shook his head. Ying Kongsher patted Liu Bai's shoulder. Who would choose a troublemaker? Of course, they would choose someone who is easy to control, just like me. Liu Bai came to a sudden realization. Young master is wise, but marrying him will damage young master's reputation. Ying Kongsher laughed out loud and lit up a cigarette. "Bibi, you really don't know anything. Being able to suppress the Empress makes my life worth it. Young master is right. It's a pity that the Eastern Emperor doesn't have a male successor. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a share in it. In the end, I'm just a sower. But no matter what, the seed is still my Ying family's." Ying Kongsher gradually stopped smiling and said in a low voice, "Of course, young master is currently the person that all men in the world are envious of, and the expression that young master had today was also, 'Ah, my brother probably wants to kill me.' Young master, let's go back. Safety is more important." Liu Bai continued to persuade. Ying Kongsher smiled and said, all right, let's go back after playing for a while. Order a fruit platter and 2 bottles of beer." Liu Bai sighed. The young master was probably bored to death. The things of the secular world were just so attractive. At this moment, Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi had also arrived at the entrance of the bar. For beautiful women, there was no need for them to queue up, and they were directly allowed to enter. However, when the two of them appeared in the bar, everyone who saw them was stunned. This big and small pair was too awesome. It was Yi Zizi's first time in a bar. She became excited as soon as she heard the music. Her ponytail began to flutter, and her hair opened up. She was ready for a big cleaning. "Zizi, are you high?" Qing Yutong shouted out loudly. Yi Zizi paused for a moment. Her ponytail calmed down and she asked loudly, "Sister Qing, what are we going to do now?" "Of course we are going to shake it." Qing Yutong held onto Yi Zizi's hand, and walked towards the dance floor. Just when they turned around, they bumped into a person, and the beer on the plate immediately fell onto the ground and shattered. Lord Joe stared blankly at the broken wine bottle. He had changed into his work clothes the moment he arrived at the bar. All of this had been arranged beforehand. Now that the opportunity had come, the medicine had already been administered. The target was just 15 meters away, and yet, this woman knocked the target the moment she turned around. Zhou Ye's heart was bleeding. "Xiao Zhou, why is it you?" Qin Yutong cried out in surprise. When Zhou Ye saw this face, he finally knew why he was so unlucky. "Oh my God, these people are really haunting me. Forget about it being on the same flight, they even stayed in the same hotel. They even bumped into me when I was doing a mission, and they even spilled my poison. But luckily, I still have one more bottle." "You got the wrong person." Zhou Yi lowered his head, turned around and left, and continued to administer the medicine. Qin Yutong pouted her mouth, but did not really care about it. Pulling Yi Zizi along, she ran to the dance floor and had fun. Sure enough, when the two girls ran to the dance floor, they immediately became the focus of attention. Everyone surrounded them into a circle and shouted out. Qin Yutong was a celebrity, her dancing skills and whatnot were not difficult for her. It was Yi Zizi's first time dancing, and she did not really understand, but when she saw Qin Yutong twisting and turning, she started learning, and very quickly, she found the feeling. A beautiful woman that was bubbling with beauty, and a cute little loli. There were a lot of people at the scene who were currently opening up Baidu and searching how many years they would be sentenced to. Those two are a bit interesting. Inkongsher also noticed Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi who were on the dance floor. Lu Bai nodded his head. "Gongzi's eyesight is indeed unique. Do you need me to go?" "Go ahead, this big and small pair are truly not bad." Inkongsher's eyes shone. This kind of beauty is too rare to see. Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi enjoyed everyone's gazes, and they felt great, and Yi Zizi became a bit excited again. I am almost unable to control the feeling of sucking people," Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth. Although it was not interesting for ordinary people to suck people, it was still better than nothing. "Two misses, can you give me face and drink a cup of wine?" Lu Bai could be seen walking in front of the two of them and shouting. Qin Yutong pulled Yi Zizi and straightforwardly agreed. "There is a free drink to drink, it would be a waste not to drink." Lu Bai thought that it would be very hard to persuade them, but he didn't expect that it would be so easy. Seems like Gongzi is going to have good luck with women tonight. Seeing a beautiful woman leaving with a man, everyone was envious. This kind of thing is hard to encounter even once a year. Arriving at the booth, Inkongsher stood up, then stretched out his hand in a refined manner. "Nice to meet you too." However, Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi ignored him, and even more so, did not stretch out their hand and directly sat on the booth. Inkongsher retracted his hand a bit awkwardly. All beautiful women have such personality. "Big sister Qin, I am a bit thirsty." Yi Zizi pulled onto Qin Yutong's arm. Qin Yutong looked towards Inkongsher and said with a smile, "Handsome brother, you don't even have wine here, why did you call us over?" "Wine? No problem." Inkongsher nodded his head towards Lu Bai, and the latter immediately went to make arrangements. "Beautiful woman, did you come to Sanya for a vacation?" Inkongsher revealed a smile that he thought was very handsome. Yi Zizi said coquettishly, "I'm not telling you, damn, this little loli is simply too cute. If I were to grab onto those two ponytails, how refreshing would that be? If I were to add on the service of this beautiful woman, would simply be as excited as pressing down on an empress." "Mister, your wine is here." Zhou Yi walked over with a smile and placed 2 bottles of beer on the table. However, when he saw Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi, his expression immediately stiffened. "Why is it them again? It is one thing to encounter them in the same bar, but to actually sit beside my target, what if they were to drink this wine?" A waiter could be seen walking over, and under Jiu Ye's dumbfounded gaze, the waiter placed all of the wine on the table. Chapter 174. Lord Jiu was on the verge of tears. Qin Yutong was very puzzled. What exactly is this ninth master doing? He secretly disguised himself as a waiter and looked as if he had just eaten **tea. How about playing dice? Qin Yutong suggested. Whatever the beautiful lady says. Enchanting smiled faintly. The moment he thought about grabbing onto Ponytail and attacking crazily, he was secretly delighted. Qin Yutong laughed lightly. It's just that it's boring if there are too few people. Lu Bai smiled and said, I can do it too. How about we call him along as well? Qin Yutong pointed at Jiu Yi with her delicate index finger. Jiu Yi was about to collapse. I really want to cry, but the person who wanted to cry even more was the other waiter. You guys actually ordered an old waiter, and not a young fellow. Could it be that the taste of beauties nowadays has changed? How could Lord Jiu agree? He hurriedly said, Sir, I have to go to work. Lu Bai threw a bundle of red notes and said, I'm familiar with the boss here. Lord Jiu was also afraid that if he continued to refuse, his scheme would be exposed. All right. But there were at least 60 bottles here. Which 2 bottles were drugged? F***CK. This woman was a devil. Nothing good ever came out of meeting her. If you lose, you will lose a bottle. Qin Yutong said tenderly. Enchanting gave her a thumbs up and said, Beauty, you're so straightforward. 1 bottle it is. He saw that Yi Zizi had already opened a bottle and was drinking it first as a sign of respect. Burp. Looking at Yi Zizi's appearance when she burped, it was so adorable that everyone was about to explode. Enchanting couldn't wait any longer. Little lowly, my love, the 5 of them were playing dice, and they were drinking bottle after bottle. Soon, half of the bottles were gone. Lord Jiu drank about 10 bottles, and he didn't know if he had drunk poison. He felt unwell. It was all their fault. Why did they come here to drink? If they didn't come, the 2 bottles of wine they had just brought would have been drunk by this target. Although it was fine to drink the wine, as long as he cast a spell, he would instantly die on the spot. If the master cast a spell now, he would definitely die. Which 2 bottles were they? Because he was worried about the poisoned wine bottle, Lord Jiu was not in the mood to play the game. But because he was not in the mood to play, the chances of him losing were higher, so of course, he drank more. Not long after, the wine bottles on the table were emptied. Just who was it that drank those 2 bottles, Jiu Yi also did not know, but he knew that the probability of him being the one that drank those 2 bottles was higher. This beer is boring, serve it white. Qin Yutong snorted. Enchanting couldn't wait to get them drunk. Therefore, he simply used the liquor with the highest alcohol content. Of course, he didn't drink it 1 bottle at a time. Instead, he drank it in small cups. Other than Jiu Yi, those sitting here were either old monsters or people with systems. Of course, there were also 2 cultivators. The pitiful Jiu Yi was probably going to cry himself to sleep in the toilet. Why did the immortals call a mortal like him to join in on the fun? Yi Zizi was a little bored. It was not as exciting as I stab you and you stab me. She was playing with Enchanting's Zippo lighter. Lord Jiu could no longer hold on and was the first to fall. The others were like drinking water. The drunk Lord Jiu revealed a gratified smile. He must have dreamed that he had completed the mission. Beauty, you've lost again. Enchanting chuckled. However, it was strange. This woman had already drunk quite a bit. Why wasn't she drunk? Qin Yutong snorted, then looked at Yi Zizi who was playing with the lighter, then said, Handsome brother, your luck is not bad. Qin Yutong could be seen standing up, then filling up the beer for herself, then filling up the beer for Enchanting. However, right at this moment, Qing Yutong seemed to be a little unstable. She swung her delicate hand, and a small cup of liquor spilled onto Inkongsher's crotch. Yi Zizi was startled. She swung the lighter in her hand, and it just so happened to land on Inkongsher's crotch. Big Sister Qing, are you drunk? Fire! 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 Inkongsher was a little stupefied. Who doesn't stupefy when his crotch is on fire? Inkongsher immediately patted his crotch. Yi Zizi turned pale with fright. Don't panic, I'm here to save you. Yi Zizi could be seen pouring the liquor on the table. Pooh! The fire became a little more ferocious. Lu Bai hurriedly prepared to save Inkongsher, but Qing Yutong pushed him away with her delicate hand and shouted, "Let me do it." The 10 centimeters high heel directly stabbed towards the fire. No! Ah! Inkongsher let out a miserable scream. However, his scream was drowned out by the music, and adding that it was at a corner, who would look at him? Zizi, quickly come and help me. Qing Yutong stepped on Inkongsher's crotch with all her might. Meanwhile, Lu Bai was lying on the sofa, unable to move at all as he watched his young master being humiliated. Yi Zizi's body was rather short, and thus, she stood on the sofa and stepped on the fire. Inkongsher, who had fainted, was woken up by the pain, and he just happened to see Yi Zizi's foot landing on the fire. Don't! Inkongsher felt that his crotch seemed to be missing something, and it felt empty. Don't speak, Zizi is here to save your life. After finished speaking, Yi Zizi ferociously stepped on Inkongsher's crotch, and Inkongsher immediately fainted again. Just how big of a grudge do you have against my crotch? Furthermore, you are not saving my life, you are trying to take my life. The rescue was still going on, and after stomping on Inkongsher ferociously for around 5 minutes, the fire was finally extinguished. Qing Yutong wiped off the sweat on her forehead. Luckily, no one was burnt. Yi Zizi sighed. He was too careless. If it weren't for the two of us, he would have been burned to death. Lu Bai felt that he could control his body again, and he pounced towards his young master. Young master. Young master. Wake up. Quickly bring him to the hospital, we can only help him to this point. Zizi, let's go. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong pulled Yi Zizi and left. Walking out of the bar, the two of them shook their eyebrows, high-fived each other, and hopped back to sleep. How dare you tease me, I will stomp on you in the bar. Lu Bai looked at young master's crotch. It was dyed red with fresh blood. It was probably a mess of flesh and blood. No. No. He had to go back and get treated. Lu Bai carried Inkongsher on his back and left quickly. Lord Zhou, who was originally drunk, immediately opened his eyes. If he did not pretend to be drunk just now, who knows how much he would have drunk. But when he squinted his eyes and saw them being violent, he couldn't help but touch his crotch. It was too cruel. A living person was trampled into a cripple by them, thinking about how those 10 centimeters high heels pierced into his body, that kind of sour feeling. I reckon that only my target would be able to experience it. Now is not the time to think about this, I have to report to my master, please don't use any magic. After changing his clothes, Lord Zhou immediately returned to his room and sent a message to one of his masters. Master, the poison seems to have been drunk by me. After waiting for a long time, his master finally replied. Lord Zhou was a bit stupefied. I don't understand what these 6 dots mean. But no matter what, I still have to report back the message that I just received. Master, although the target did not die, his balls exploded. Lord Zhou's master clearly did not react to what Lord Zhou said, and was still thinking about what the word balls meant. After a long time, he replied, What do you mean? Lord Zhou wanted to give this master of mine a new definition. You don't even understand this. Don't tell me that you are still a virgin. The target might have become a eunuch right now. After finished speaking, Lord Jiu waited for a reply. As long as the target doesn't scold me and give me the antidote, it will be fine. Little Jiu, well done. Looking at the reply, Lord Jiu was very stupefied. What is going on? What do you want? Tell me. Anything is fine. Lord Jiu was stupefied. This might be a blessing in disguise. Chapter 175. Right now, Liu Bai was carrying Enchanting on his back and flying towards the sea's surface at high speed while muttering, "Young master, hold on, we are almost there." If I knew that this would be the end result, I would have already persuaded young master to go back home. How am I going to explain such a big matter to him? In the sky, Liu Bai suddenly stopped and took out a token. A white halo appeared in front of him and directly passed through. It was still the sea surface, but there was an island not far away. There were ancient buildings built on the island, and a towering city gate extended to both sides of the island. Day and night, the city gate faced the sea and the sunrise. The city gate was grand and magnificent. There were more than 20 buildings on the city gate, but it didn't feel crowded or repetitive at all. There were pavilions, terraces, waterside pavilions, strange rocks, flower beds, and bonsai decorating the buildings. When the guards on the city gate saw someone flying over, they immediately raised their vigilance and shouted, "Who are you? Quickly get out of the way, this is the second young master." Liu Bai shouted. The guards were startled and immediately kept their weapons and lowered their heads. Liu Bai didn't think too much and ran straight towards the center of the buildings. That was the resting place of Ying family's family master. As the family master of Ying family, Ying Jingshan didn't have many wives and concubines. In his entire life, he only had this one woman by his side, and her name was Yu He. This was the woman that Ying Jingshan met when he went out to train. She didn't have an astonishing appearance, but she was able to move this man's heart. And Yu He was just an ordinary person. Nestling in her husband's embrace, Yu He slightly frowned and said, "Jingshan, won't Kong be wronged by marrying her?" "How can that be? The other party is Donghuang Baiji, there are countless men who want to marry her. Kong being able to have such a life is also his fortune. Besides, this marriage is not bad." As the family master of Ying family, of course, he would consider everything. And as a mother, she would definitely only consider her son's happiness. Yu He sighed lightly, "But I keep feeling uneasy. I heard that this empress is very tyrannical. I'm afraid that Kong will be at a disadvantage. Things will change after getting married. Right now, what we should be worrying about is Ho's marriage." "Did he fancy any girl from any family?" Ying Jingshan asked with a smile. Ying Jingshan still felt that his eldest son, Ying Ho, was more suitable to inherit his position. At first, he thought that his youngest son would be wronged, but he didn't expect that his youngest son would be marrying Donghuang Baiji. Looking at my eldest son's attitude today, it seems like he is unwilling to give up. Thinking about it, it makes sense. No matter how much power he has, conquering a woman like Donghuang Baiji is equivalent to conquering the world. Ho had been working hard since he was a child, striving to become the next patriarch of the Ying family. Kong, on the other hand, didn't work so hard. It seemed that he didn't want to be the next patriarch, nor did he want to fight for it. Now, things were great. With a single word from the Empress, his younger brother's status would far surpass his own. How could he be willing to accept this? If he did not work hard, he would soar into the sky in a single bound. "Jingshan, I think it's better not to talk about Ho's marriage now. After all, Kong's partner is the Empress. It's inevitable that Ho will feel unbalanced. If he finds an ordinary woman, won't he be even angrier? I don't want to see the two brothers have a falling out." Although Yuho was an ordinary person, after marrying Ing Jingshan, she had slowly learned this kind of worldview. Ing Jingshan let out a deep sigh. I really don't know if this empress words are good or bad. Our Ing family just wants to live peacefully, that's all. Whatever power struggle, let it be. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. It had been a long time since something like this had happened in the Ing family. I'll go take a look, Ing Jingshan said in a deep voice. I'll go with you. The two of them put on their black silk nightgowns and walked out of the room. They immediately looked at Lu Bai and cried loudly, Patriarch, Madam, quickly save young master, he's dying. Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong didn't go easy on Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong, especially Qin Yutong. She was stepping on Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong to death. If Qin Yutong knew that the one she stepped on this time was the second son of Ing family, would she have a different reaction? What's going on? Ing Jingshan shouted. He hurriedly checked on his son's injuries, and his expression was terrifyingly heavy. Lu Bai wailed loudly, Patriarch, young master is so pitiful, he was trampled on like this. Ing Jingshan's eyes widened as he bellowed, quickly call Divine Dr. Song over. When Yuhi took a closer look, she immediately had a feeling of dizziness. My son's crotch is filled with blood. After a while, Divine Dr. Song arrived. At the same time, Marquis Ing also arrived. His appearance was slightly worse than Ing Kongsher's. There was a mole on his chin, and he gave off the feeling that he was a wily old fox. At the same time, the other members of the Ing family also arrived. Everyone sat in the great hall, waiting for the result. Lu Bai knelt in the center, sobbing quietly. Ing Jingshan fiercely slammed onto the table. What are you crying for? Tell me everything that happened in detail. While sobbing, Lu Bai narrated everything that happened in detail. He didn't add anything and didn't cut anything out. Honest people are easy to bully. All the members of the Ing family who were sitting in the hall knew that they stepped on an iron plate and got beaten up. A skinny middle-aged man took the initiative to voice out his opinion. His name was Ing Xiang, Ing Jingshan's younger brother. The Empress passed the news to me in the morning. It hasn't even been a day, and nephew Kong has already made such a joke out of himself. If the news were to reach the ears of the Empress, wouldn't that be bad? Is the son that my Ing family brought up to be like this? Ing Xiang's words had a bit of a taste of throwing stones at a person who was down, and there was even more of a hidden mockery hidden within. Marquis Ing, who was standing behind his father, didn't say anything. Right now, silence spoke louder than words. Lu Bai, who was kneeling on the ground, spoke up for his master. Second young master went there to drink a few cups of wine because he was happy today. I reckon that he got drunk, and that's why he asked this lowly one to go and call those two girls over. Ing Shang was the third son, and he was a bit plump when he reached middle age. He could be heard saying unhurriedly, forget about the adult females, there was even an underage child among them. Big brother, if such a thing were to be spread out, it would be such a loss of face. Second young master really didn't have any other thoughts. At that time, this lowly one also didn't know what happened. Second young master's crotch suddenly caught on fire, and the two girls helped second young master to extinguish the fire. After fiercely kicking second young master's crotch, this lowly one didn't know why I couldn't move, and could only watch as second young master was being kicked alive. Lu Bai hurriedly spoke up for Ing Kongsher. Ing Jingshan took a deep breath and asked, were those two girls ordinary people? Lu Bai nodded his head, expressing that he didn't notice anything strange. The first guess that appeared in Ing Jingshan's mind was that someone intentionally set up a trap. Are there any other strange phenomena? Yuha asked cleanly. There was a strange middle-aged waiter who had a restless expression on his face. Lu Bai recalled for a while and said. Marquis Ing, who didn't speak all along, paused for a moment. Ing Jingshan made a preliminary judgment. Seems like the news of Kong, going out today was found out by someone, and someone plotted against him. At this moment, an old man slowly walked into the hall and bowed towards everyone. Divine Dr. Song, how is Kong's condition? Yuha asked worriedly. Divine Dr. Song let out a sigh. This old man has already tried his best. Second young master's lamp has been extinguished. Upon hearing this result, everything before Yuha's eyes turned black, and she fainted. Yuha. Chapter 176. Yuha couldn't take this kind of blow and fainted. My son is actually unable to have sex. Jingshan carried his wife back to the room to rest, then came to the main hall. His face was terrifyingly gloomy. On the other hand, the other family members didn't seem to care much about it. To them, this might be an opportunity. Could it be that the Empress is going to marry a eunuch? How is that possible? He is not the only boy in the huge Jing family. Xiang said, Big brother, it has only been a day, and nephew Kong is already like this. How are we going to explain this to the Empress? That's right, big brother, it is already very shameful for such a thing to happen to Ying family. The betrothal gifts are going to be sent over tomorrow, big brother, it is better for you to make plans as soon as possible. Shang also followed and said. If my son marries the Empress, that would be the rhythm of a meteoric rise. Furthermore, big brother only has 2 sons, one has become a eunuch, and the other has to marry out, leaving the position of the family head empty. Or continue to be the family head and let the other boys marry out, you can't have your cake and eat it too. This matter must be investigated thoroughly. Ho! Jingshan shouted gravely. Yes. Bring back the waiters of the bar and those 2 girls. I would like to see who dares to mess with our Ying family. Yes. It was impossible to find Jiu Yi, all of the registered information was fake, and right now, Jiu Yi had already returned to Long and City in the middle of the night, and his butt was wiped clean. However, Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi were not that lucky. Xiang said hurriedly, Big brother, tracking down the culprit behind the scenes is important, but how do we answer the Empress tomorrow is also important. Let me think about it, all of you go and rest. Jingshan waved his hand, feeling depressed in his heart. Unexpectedly, Shang said, Big brother, nephew Kong is going to hold a banquet at 3 Seasons Hotel tomorrow, should we cancel this banquet? He is already like that, he can't even stand up, and there is still a banquet to celebrate. Celebrate that there is another father-in-law in this world. Cancel it. Kongsher said, then left to take a look at his son's injuries. The other family members shook their heads, then left after chatting with Ho for a bit. After everyone left, Ho revealed a trace of a smile. This Jiu Ye's way of handling things is really unexpected, this is even more ruthless than killing people. Presumably, those 2 girls should be called by Jiu Yi as well. What was so good about being the Ying family's patriarch? It was only interesting to be the Empress man. As for the 2 girls, of course, he couldn't capture them. If they confessed, he would be finished. Since that was the case, he could only kill them. Lord Zhou still had some use for them, so he wouldn't kill them for now. In Kongsher's room, Lu Bai accompanied him and took care of him attentively. Right now, young master's face was pale, and he already looked like a father-in-law. How miserable. How is it? Jingshan walked over and asked. Lu Bai respectfully said, Divine Dr. Song said that second young master is fine and will wake up soon. Just as he finished speaking, Kongsher, who was lying on the bed, woke up with a frown. Father, Lu Bai, you guys are all here. Kongsher said with a faint smile. He did not feel that he had lost an organ. Seeing the strange expression on the 2 people's faces, Kongsher immediately recalled what happened just now. Lowering his head to take a look, I feel empty, young master, don't touch it. Divine Dr. Song just applied the medicine. Lu Bai hurriedly warned. The corner of Inkongsher's mouth began to twitch. His crotch area was flat, and his facial expression changed drastically. Calm down. Jingshan wasn't feeling well either. His son was crippled, who would be able to accept it? Father, save me, I don't want to have no foundation. If I don't have any foundation, how am I going to marry the Empress? 2 hours ago, he was still having a sweet dream, fantasizing about the Empress's body, but now, what exactly happened? Jingshan didn't want to give his son a blow. You definitely can't get married. Inkongsher's expression immediately became sinister. Father, it's those 2 women. Those 2 women did it on purpose. I am going to hack them into pieces. I am going to be a prostitute forever. I heard from Lu Bai that there was a 7 or 8 years old child among them. Jingshan questioned. Although he felt heartache, he was also hateful. If it wasn't for you lusting after women, how could such a thing have happened? To actually lay your hands on a child, you have lost all your face. Inkongsher immediately thought of Yizizi's face, that petite figure, and that pair of ponytails. It's a pity that it's impossible for me to grab onto those ponytails right now, not even in this lifetime. Father, I only invited them for a drink, I don't have any other motive. Inkongsher hurriedly explained. Jingshan let out a deep sigh. Father, I still have to hold a banquet tomorrow. I will cancel it for you. You just have to properly recuperate at home. Ingho has already caught the person who injured you. After finished speaking, Jingshan walked out. His mood was very bad. Cancel? How can I cancel it? If I do that, wouldn't I be ridiculed by everyone? Ridiculing me for standing up is better than ridiculing me for being a father-in-law. Jingshan's thoughts were very simple. This matter can't be spread out. If there is a need, Kong can't go out in this lifetime. Family can't afford to lose this face. However, this is impossible. Family is definitely going to lose this face. Young master. Lu Bai shouted out in concern. Inkongsher's eyes were lifeless. He wasn't stupid. Father's meaning just now was very clear. I who have no foundation, it's impossible for me to marry the Empress. I am not resigned. I have to be so careful when I go out tonight. I must have been discovered by someone. Big Brother is the biggest suspect. Thinking back to Big Brother's expression in the morning, Inkongsher seemed to have already confirmed it, and thought silently in his heart, if I can't get it, don't even think about getting it. Looking at the young master's pair of gloomy and cold eyes, Lu Bai was endlessly worried. Within the 3 Seasons Hotel, Qing Yutong and Yizizi took a bath and wore cute pajamas. It was normal for Inkongsher to have such a thought. Even if there wasn't Inkongsher, there would still be other tycoons who invited them, and the ending should be more or less the same. Inkongsher can only blame himself for being too unlucky. He is destined to not be able to become the Empress man. Zizi, you were really smart just now. Qing Yutong pinched onto Yizizi's little face. Originally, when she saw Yizizi playing with the lighter, she conveniently knocked over the wine glass, and very quickly, Yizizi's little hand trembled, causing the lighter to fall onto the glass. One could well imagine what would happen if the 2 of them were to stay together. This was also the reason why Yihua didn't want Yizizi and Qing Yutong to be together. To Yizizi, this was just a child's play. Yizizi revealed out 2 cute little dimples. Zizi has long been unable to stand the sight of him. Originally, I wanted to burn him with fire. Damn, Zizi, you are so violent. This won't do. Girls have to be more obedient. Qing Yutong guided attentively. Big sister Qing, Zizi learned it from you. You are so straightforward when you step on him. Qing Yutong's eyebrows twitched. Yizizi immediately understood. The 2 turned on their computers. It was impossible for them not to eat chicken before going to bed. Chapter 177. This person was dressed in black, and he hid well in the dark. An assassin like him didn't need to sneak in at all. He could just fly up and enter through the window. The mission this time was just two ordinary people. It was too easy. Gently floating on the balcony, the black-clothed man took out a short dagger and smeared a layer of poison on it. Killing without leaving a trace. Sneaking a peek at the room at the side, the lights were still on. The man in black started to walk into the room with a sinister smile on his face. However, "Zizi, there's someone outside the window." Qin Yutong could be heard shouting out while wearing earphones. The man in black was shocked. How did they find him? Didn't the intelligence say that they were two ordinary people? Zizi controlled her character and shouted, "I heard it a long time ago. Watch how I kill you." The man in black turned pale with fright and immediately lay on the balcony. He had encountered two troublesome people. Qin Yutong could be heard shouting out, "Do you think that I won't be able to see you just because you are lying on the ground?" The man in black was about to go crazy. He hadn't even found the target yet, but the target had found him. What was the killer most worried about? Exposing his identity. After waiting for a while, the assassin in black felt that it was quiet again. Could it be that he was hallucinating? That should be the case. Those were all auditory hallucinations. How could he have been discovered? Sneaking into the room, he saw that the lights in the living room were off, but the bedroom was on. It seemed that he was inside. The black-clothed assassin revealed a cruel smile and subconsciously licked the blade. Something doesn't feel right. It seemed like he had smeared poison on it. TMD. His mind was unsettled by what he did just now, and he was actually licking poison. The black-clothed assassin immediately took out the antidote and drank it. He heaved a sigh of relief and went back to the bedroom. There are footsteps. Qin Yutong could be heard shouting out. The man in black was so scared that he leaned against the wall. They were really powerful. His footsteps were almost silent, but they could actually hear him. Zizi giggled and said, "Sister Qin, we've stopped a fool." The black-robed man's expression changed. Could this be a trap? He actually jumped into someone else's trap. "Zizi, don't move. Wait for me to get my weapon. I'm going to blow his head off today." Qin Yutong's delicate shout rang out again, and this frightened the black-clothed man. He had really fallen into someone else's trap. No. This mission was too difficult. He had to call for more helpers. The man in black took small steps, preparing to slip away. "You still want to run? Zizi, blow his head off." Okay, the man in black couldn't care less and directly broke through the window. There were many traps inside. The information was wrong. He had to rethink the plan. Within the bedroom, Qin Yutong wrinkled her brows and looked towards Zizi. "Zizi, I just heard the sound of someone jumping out of the window." Zizi blinked her eyes towards Qin Yutong. "It seems like someone jumped out of the window. Seems like there are still people in Pochinki." Qin Yutong let out a breath. However, the two of them had an evil smile on their faces. This game was simply too fun. The room at the side was precisely Yihua's room. The sound of the window breaking caused Yihua to open his eyes, then casually waved his hand. The black-clothed man, who was rejoicing over his escape, gradually disappeared as he flew. It was truly a painless death. Lightly caressing the woman in his embrace, Yihua noticed that she was not woken up by the commotion. The corner of Yihua's mouth curved upwards. "Yihua, someone jumped out of the window, quickly come over." Qinya pursed her lips. Seems like she was sleep-talking. Yihua shook his head helplessly. Even in his dreams, I always think about playing games. Luckily I am still inside. Yihua, how did your head get blown off? I will help you take revenge, Yihua. This foolish woman, I really want to slap her awake and properly teach her a lesson. In the morning, Qinya woke up very early. Because today was a good day, taking wedding photos, just thinking about it made her excited. Qinya could be seen to have already changed her clothes and pulled onto Yihua, who was on the bed. Yihua, quickly get up. Are you crazy? It is only 6 a.m. right now. Yihua said gravely. Qinya shook onto Yihua's arm. Hubby, I am excited. Quickly get up, I really can't stand you. Yihua sat on the bed, held on to Qinya's waist, and immediately kissed her. Are you satisfied now? Quickly get up. Qinya rolled her eyes at Yihua. Messing around so early in the morning, he is really getting more and more excessive. However, I really like the current version of Yihua. It is much better than the previous version. Yihua let out a sigh. After washing up, he brought Qinya to wake up the other two. Qin Yutang and Yizizi only slept at 4 a.m., and they had only slept for 2 hours now, and they were even pulled up. Why is your window broken? Qinya asked curiously. Yizizi walked out of the room with her eyes closed while hugging onto the little teddy bear. Qin Yutang even wore an eye mask and hugged onto the quilt. After the two walked out of the room, they immediately fell onto the sofa, looking as if they wouldn't get up even if they were beaten to death. Yihua walked to the side of the window and lit up a cigarette. Who is it that wants to make a move on them? This is really a bit interesting. Under Qinya's various tricks, Qin Yutang and Yizizi finally put on their clothes and walked out of the room. Yizizi was still walking like a little princess, but what was different was that today, she was hugging onto a little teddy bear. Qin Yutang finally returned to normal, and when she wore a long dress, she looked a bit like a fairy. The breakfast in the hotel was all free, and it belonged to the self-service mode. When Qin Yutang and Yizizi saw the delicious food, they immediately came back to life. Meanwhile, Yihua occupied the seat and continued to act like a master. What is the biggest use of a wife? That is to hug the wife to sleep at night, and serve the wife during the day. That would be meaningless. How could Qinya not know Yihua's character? She gave Yihua a deep-fried dough stick and a bowl of porridge, okay. Yihua took a look at his, then looked at the other threes. What is this for me? Big brother is so stupid, this is breakfast. Yizizi said with a smile. Yihua glared at her, and the latter immediately shrunk back. Qinya laughed. All right, I was just joking with you. I will help you get the breakfast. What do you want to eat? Forget it, I don't have much appetite if I wake up too early. Yihua said faintly, then drank a few mouthfuls of porridge. Qin Yutang sized up the surroundings. Yesterday, the hotel was still filled with people. Why is there a lot less people today? Brother-in-law, don't you feel that this hotel is a bit weird today? Qin Yutang asked curiously. Yihua had felt it a long time ago, but he didn't put it to heart. Suddenly, two men sat behind Yihua's table with breakfast in their hands and whispered to each other. I heard that today's banquet was cancelled, causing me to rush over here in a hurry. I still have to rush back to attend a parent-teacher conference for my child today. Isn't it the same for me? I didn't even participate in the group's expedition yesterday night. It is said that the second young master's balls were burst by someone, that's why today's banquet was cancelled. Is that true or false? His balls were burst by someone. Who is so awesome? The Cultivation World's forum is in an uproar. Someone said that this second young master molested an underage girl. 666, the man who is going to marry the Empress is still like this, awesome. That's right, isn't he afraid that the Empress would roast him? When Yihua heard about the underage girl, he looked towards Yizizi and thought about the assassin from yesterday night. Needless to say, it was definitely done by these two people. Qin Yutang and Yizizi silently ate their breakfast, not knowing what was going on. Chapter 178. What are the arrangements for today? Yihua asked lightly. Qinya wiped her sexy little mouth. I have already contacted them just now. Today, we will be shooting indoors. Tomorrow, we will be shooting outdoors. The two of you are off today. Yutong, take good care of Zizi. All right. Qin Yutong nodded her head. Does Zizi still need someone to look after him? When Zizi heard that she could play, she became excited again. She felt that the person she trampled yesterday should be a big shot. If she wasn't wrong, there should be more to it. She had to properly discuss with big sister Qing about how to play the person to death. Just thinking about it made her excited. It was a pity that the big bone dragon and gluttonous monster weren't able to come. One day. There was still one more day tomorrow. Can't it be completed within an hour? Yihua found it hard to believe, just taking a photo actually takes 2 days. He could watch many episodes of Calabash Brothers saving Grandpa in the next 2 days. Qingya knew that Yihua was getting impatient, and as if she was coaxing a child, she said, "It will be very quick, it will only take around 10 sets of clothes, and furthermore, you will be able to carry me for the entire journey, that's more like it." Qingya felt a bit of a headache. This husband of mine is too clingy. Looking at his posture, he seems to be wishing that he could hug onto me 24/7. He is becoming more and more adorable, especially when he is putting on a straight face. If Dongwang Baiji were to hear Qingya's inner voice, just thinking about how Dongwang Baiji would react was a bit exciting. Seeing that they were almost done eating, Qing Yutong pulled Zizi up and said, "We are full, we are going back to our room to sleep. Remember to have the glass changed, it's dangerous." Qingya warned. "All right. Eldest cousin, eldest sister-in-law, Zizi will not accompany you anymore." Zizi waved the teddy bear in her hand and said with a smile. On the other hand, Qingya was all smiles. Xiao Zizi is truly adorable, scary. In order to obtain more accurate information, Yihua first contacted Wei Chang. "Is there any information?" "Your Honor, give subordinate 1 minute." Wei Chang immediately contacted Death Mage. "Is there any information?" Right now, Death Mage wasn't staying in the park anymore. He was staying in a hotel. Although the hotel wasn't very high class, at least he had a bed. Yes. In the south, Sonia seems to be making a big move. I thought they were going to fight, but half of them left this morning. It was good that there was information, but he was afraid that there would be none. Wei Chang said, "Good. Good job, keep an eye on him." "Yes. Master." Death Mage took a look at Sun Fang who was beside him who was still unconscious, then went back to focusing on playing the game for 100 years. "I didn't expect that this kind of information would actually be praised by my master. Not bad." Wei Chang passed the information back to Yihua, and Yihua praised Wei Chang. Finally, Wei Chang has done his job well. However, I still need to investigate further. Then, Wei Chang gave the order to Death Mage. Death Mage, who was lying on the bed, naturally accepted the order unconditionally. However, right now, he had a bit of a temper. GGG, Royal Translation. What kind of lousy game is this? It has never F*King won before. You want to cheat me of my money? I'll uninstall it and leave the mobile game world. After saying that, Death Mage really uninstalled the game. This kind of determination was really scary. Opening up the international news, Death Mage began to skim through it. This is also a skeleton that worries about the world's affairs. Suddenly, an advertisement attracted Death Mage's attention. "Good, big scum. I'm scum. I've acted in many dramas, but games. I like to play around with the blue moon, wine, luminous cups, equipment recycling, and earning money as soon as I enter the server. It's not a dream. Death Mage was attracted by the advertisement in front of him. The main thing was that he would be able to earn money by entering the server. Was this game really that powerful? Death Mage, who swore that he would not play mobile games just now, immediately downloaded the game. He felt that the game was not bad, and he rushed to 648 renminbi first. I didn't expect that there would still be a refund. This game is really not bad. It should be said that it is a game with a conscience. Death Mage was very happy. Of course, the character he chose was a warrior. First, he bought all sorts of equipment, followed the quest, and then went on a killing spree. It felt great. F***ck, fishing was simply rubbish. Only this playful on you was interesting. What game is this? Sun Fong suddenly asked as she looked at her phone screen. GGG, Royal Translation, a game that can make money. Sun Fong looked at it and suddenly had an idea. This seemed to be a fighting game. If I can't kill you in real life, can't I kill you in the game? Just you wait, I'll play too. After saying that, Sun Fong leaned against the headboard of the bed and took out her phone to download the game. She even specially asked Death Mage which region he was at, then secretly entered the server and prepared to directly attack the root of the problem. Dong dong dong. A series of knocks sounded from the door. Death Mage, who was currently playing enthusiastically, slammed open the door. Do Fusher walked into the room with an excited look on his face. Soon after, he covered his face with his hands. I am still a child, is it really alright for you two to be like this? Sun Fong seemed to have become numb as she leaned against the headboard of the bed and asked faintly, what's the matter? Do Fusher said with a serious expression, sister-in-law, I just did a divination, today, we will have good fortune. Sun Fong silently tapped on the button to top up her account. 648 renminbi was gone. Oh, seeing that the two people on the bed didn't seem to have any intention of getting up, Do Fusher felt very hurt. Big brother, sister-in-law, I can't keep supporting the two of you forever, there will be a day when I will also run out of money. Ha! 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 The sound of a warrior hacking rang out from the speaker. Do Fusher was a bit in despair. These two blood-sucking bugs, if we succeed today, big brother, sister-in-law, you don't have to worry about the problem of topping up your account in the future, becoming number one in the entire server would not be a problem at all. As expected, Death Mage and Sun Fong slightly raised their heads. Death Mage thought about becoming number one in the entire server. Sun Fong thought about killing the number one in the entire server. Sun Fong typed on her phone, do it. Do Fusher was overjoyed, and he hurriedly said, I divined that there will be good fortune coming from the north today, it must be some expert. Big brother, sister-in-law, your battle prowess is very high, as long as we intercept it, you won't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. As long as Sun Fong was able to get rid of the skeletons beside her, she was willing to do anything. Open your mouth. Sun Fong said faintly. Ah. Open your mouth. Do Fusher helplessly opened his mouth. Sun Fong swung her hand, and Do Fusher felt that something was swallowed by her. You have already eaten my dying pill, if you dare to lie to me, I will not give you the antidote. Sun Fong shouted out coldly, and at this moment, her sect master's aura exploded out. Do Fusher immediately swore that he wouldn't lie to anyone. Go out and wait. Sun Fong said coldly. After Do Fusher left, Sun Fong took out the malt sprout that was hidden in her blanket and ate one. The taste is not bad. GGG, Imperial Translation, this move is brilliant. Sun Fong took a glare at Death Mage, Jijia my ass, hurry up and get to work. After finished speaking, Sun Fong got off the bed and changed her clothes, not even bothering to avoid Death Mage. Death Mage immediately turned his head around. This shameless woman actually dares to seduce me in broad daylight. Although I am just a skeleton, I have trained my hand speed while fishing, and on average, I am able to vibrate 100 times per second. I can control the depth of the vibrations, and I guarantee that you won't be able to let go of the vibrations. After Sun Fong finished wearing her clothes, when she turned her head around and saw Death Mage looking outside the window, she snorted. Chapter 179. The three of them walked out of this ordinary hotel and headed towards the suburbs. Death Mage now knew to wear a mask and gloves when he went out. Actually, these were prepared by Sun Fong to prevent unnecessary trouble. The driver was a little worried. These three people are so weird. The young man in the front seems to be calculating something with his right hand, but why does it feel like his hand is cramping and his complexion doesn't look good? There is a black robe wearing a mask sitting at the back. The moment he got on the car, he was playing a game on his phone. The sound was so loud that it would let out weird sounds from time to time, causing one's hair to stand on end. Only this woman was so beautiful, like a fairy. However, she was also playing on her phone after getting on the car. Listening to the sound of the game, it seems to be the same game as the black robe. Could it be the playful Anu? The more they drove, the more remote the car became. The driver's forehead was filled with sweat. Could it be that she is a robber? Stop! Do Fusher immediately shouted. The driver suddenly stopped, causing the two behind to crash into each other. However, they didn't mind. Sun Fong pulled on Death Mage's robe and said, "Transfer 2,000 to me." Sun Fong didn't have any money to top up, so how could she kill him? Death Mage wasn't a stingy person and directly transferred 4,000 over. Anyways, he was going to be rich later. The three of them got off the car. The driver stepped on the accelerator. He didn't want to see the three of them anymore. Do Fusher took out a compass and shouted, "Find the dragon by looking at the coiled mountain. Every coiled mountain is a checkpoint. If there are 1,000 locks on the door, there will definitely be a king living here." Death Mage didn't understand. Sun Fong slowly raised her head and asked, "Isn't this the chant for finding tombs? What does it have to do with this robbery?" Do Fusher laughed, "Sister-in-law, this chant of mine is very flexible, it can even be used in casinos. Aren't you a ghost hunter?" Sun Fong laughed and continued playing her game. "Sister-in-law, these days aren't good. Other than catching ghosts, I also need to earn some extra money. I just go to some tombs and sell some jewelry to earn some money." Do Fusher let out a long sigh. Novels were all full of lies. How could there be so many tombs? Even if there were, they would have been emptied long ago. If he went there, he wouldn't even be able to find anything. He wanted to subdue some ghosts in the tombs, but he didn't even see a single strand of hair. How could he not be angry? Sun Fong received the money that Death Mage had transferred to her. "This skeleton is quite generous. I didn't think too much about it and charged 4,000 renminbi to Death Mage. Combine equipment." The three of them walked further and further away, and Do Fusher shouted with the compass in his hand, "Right here." Death Mage and Sun Fong sized up the place. "What kind of place is this? Rundown factory. Why did you bring us here? Is there gold underground?" Sun Fong asked in a sweet voice. Do Fusher raised his index finger and shook it, "Big brother, sister-in-law, there is no gold on the ground, but there is gold in the sky." Death Mage kept his phone and said, "GGG, the Imperial translation, interesting." Sun Fong also felt it, and a look of disdain appeared on her face. Bang! Do Fusher watched as his big brother and sister-in-law soared into the clouds and shouted, "Big brother. Sister-in-law, bring little brother up, I don't know how to fly." Death Mage and Sun Fong, who had soared into the clouds, stared at the empty space in front of them. Death's scythe immediately appeared in Sun Fang's hands, and with a flick of her hand, the purple gold treasured sword appeared in Sun Fang's hands. Who dares to stop Voidless Realm? Immediately, 50 people who wore red gowns could be seen appearing in the empty space, and among them, 30 of them were carrying boxes made from top-notch mahogany. Without needing to think too much, one would be able to guess what was inside the boxes. The other 20 people were guards, and when they saw a black-gowned man and a woman appearing, they immediately pulled out their swords. However, one shouldn't look down on those 30 people. They put down the betrothal gifts on their shoulders and pulled out their weapons one after another. Hearing that the other party had revealed their name, Sun Fang, who was the sect master, naturally knew what kind of existence Voidless Realm was. Trying to provoke them was no different from courting death. However, she didn't expect that the ones who wanted to rob them would be them. This is truly the will of the heavens. But what did that matter? I hope that this Voidless Realm has some ability and snatch their goods, then send out an even more powerful existence to get rid of me and Death Mage. Death Mage took out his phone unhurriedly and started typing. Then, his phone lit up, and colorful words appeared on the screen, robbery. However, Sun Fang's speed was even faster, and she had already rushed into the crowd. Sun Fang herself was a sect master, and adding on the fact that she had broken through that day, her current strength was completely capable of fighting against Xiao Yi, and she might even be able to gain the upper hand. If she also had an ancient godly item, she might even be able to defeat Xiao Yi. However, Death Mage had the ability to instantly kill Xiao Yi. There was still a gap between them. Looking at Sun Fang dancing in the crowd, blood splattering all over the place, and limbs flying all over the place, Death Mage was a bit dazed. At this moment, this woman suddenly looked so beautiful, especially when the enemy's blood splattered onto her spotlessly white cheeks, and her inhumane gaze. It's too alluring. Do Fusher still didn't know what was happening in the sky, and he was anxiously waiting below. When he raised his head to take a look, a black dot suddenly appeared in the sky. Do Fusher wrinkled his brows. What is that black dot? As the black dot got closer and closer, Do Fusher was startled. That black dot is actually a severed arm. Do Fusher immediately dodged, and soon after, even more severed arms appeared in the sky, frightening Do Fusher to the point that he hid in a corner and shivered. This malicious ghost couple is too terrifying. In the blink of an eye, only 10 people remained out of the 50 people. Sun Fang felt very happy in her heart, and the pain that she had been suppressing in her heart exploded out at this moment, and she felt a lot more comfortable. You all sure have guts. Not only did you all steal Voidless Realm's goods, you all even killed Voidless Realm's people. Just wait for your deaths. One of the men shouted out loudly, then nodded his head towards the other men, then scattered in all directions to go back and report what happened. Sun Fang swung her slender hand, and the purple gold treasured sword transformed into a rainbow and pierced through one of the men's body. However, the other men were unable to be killed. Death Mage was very disdainful. What bullshit, Voidless Realm, my master is able to exterminate you all with just a single move, and His honor is able to exterminate you all with just a single word. And me. GGG Imperial Translation, Tentacles of Darkness. Countless big, round, and thick tentacles appeared out of thin air and attacked towards all directions. Back then, this move scared Xiao Yi to the point that he had to flee in all directions. Facing against the unparalleled Death Mage, Voidless Realm's people were unable to resist at all. Their bodies were pierced through, and in the end, they were devoured by the tentacles. This move is very similar to Wei Chang. This was the first time that Sun Fang saw Death Mage using a technique, and she thought to herself, what would happen if I were to face Death Mage's technique head-on? If my speed isn't fast enough, I will end up the same as them. This damned skeleton, how can he be so powerful? After recalling back the tentacles of darkness, Death Mage looked towards Sun Fang. Are you afraid of so many tentacles? Just think about the consequences. Death Mage waved his hand, and the 15 chests of betrothal gifts that were in the air descended onto the ground along with Death Mage. Sun Fong let out a sigh, then descended onto the ground as well. Upon seeing that, Do Fusher immediately ran over. Big brother, sister-in-law, you two are too awesome. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.